Okay, hi. So, my name is Jimmy. Today I'm here with my friend Danny from the YouTube channel Mutant Museum.
Hello.
So Danny's channel recently got taken down for some stupid reason, and he's rebuilding from scratch. So I'll put the link in the description. If you want to follow that channel, please do so. It will mean a lot to him.
It really would.
Yeah.
If you knew my old stuff before then, now would be a great time to, as I am re-uploading the old stuff, now would be a great time to rediscover an old classic, because I could really use the subscribers and views.
Exactly. And also, he actually has YouTube experience, unlike me. So the more successful he is, he can promote my stuff.
And I will.
Such as the video you're watching now, in which we are going to be ranking Batman movies based on how racist they are. Now, Danny, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're using to define a Batman movie?
Yeah. So not everyone is gonna. It's a bit more of an art than a science. Not all of our criteria is gonna make perfect sense to everybody. But our broad definition, first of all, what counts as a Batman movie, is it has to have Batman and or Bruce Wayne in it. It has to be a theatrically released movie, although, as you may have already noticed, we have two exceptions here that were never theatrically released, and we have two of the old serials, which I don't know if that counts as a movie. We're counting it as a movie for the sake of argument. Batman needs to be a key character in it, but simply a movie existing in the DC universe doesn't count. I seem to recall that Bruce Wayne had a brief appearance at the beginning of the first Wonder Woman movie.
I really don't think
I could be wrong.
But we can check that afterwards. But in any case, I don't.
We're not putting it on here.
That would be fun though, because we have the World War II. We have a World War II movie here. We could also put a World War. But it's fine. It's fine.
But even if he does have a cameo in it, it's not a Batman movie.
Yeah,
it's a movie that briefly has Batman in it.
Assuming he even is.
We are, however, counting the Lego movie.
Yeah, we're counting the Lego movie because Batman does appear in it, and by our rules,
as a major character.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we should also probably define a little bit about define what racism is. So, Danny, do you want to tackle that?
Not a big subject at all.
Okay, sorry. So, just to get things out of the way. So, I am Chinese. Danny is, what are you?
I am Hundo P. White.
Hundo P. White. Yeah, so everything you're going to be hearing is from our very limited perspectives.
Yes,
Don't take any of this that seriously. We're not trying to solve racism. We're not trying to cancel anyone. We're not... With one exception, we don't really think any of these movies are intentionally trying to be racist to anything.
One of them that it was a stated goal.
One of them was a stated goal, and we'll get to that.
But you can't cancel someone who's been dead for a really long time.
Exactly. So, and as we go on, I think there are different definitions of racism. I think that there's personal racism, on an individual level, and there's also systemic racism. So, for example, the way I used to describe to in terms of movies is if you're watching a movie and a white character from a comic book is played by a person of color. Now, if that makes you upset because it doesn't look like the person that you're used to, I don't think that makes you personally racist. I don't think that necessarily makes you a racist person. But however, there is this sort of systemic thing in the movie making industry where, because movies are adaptations of these comic books from the 60s, most characters are white. So if they don't do these things where white characters are recast where people of color are cast as characters that are traditionally white, it sort of perpetuates this systemic racism in which talking about individuals being racist isn't really it's kind of missing the point.
Well put.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And if we see a character's race as always just locked in from what it was originally, then we're really never going to be able to, because so many of our characters are these long-lasting legacy IP characters. We are still talking about Batman, who was created in, the 30s, and he's one of our most beloved pop cultural characters to this day. And so far, Batman has remained played by white actors, but that is not necessarily going to last forever. And if things like that did, then ultimately there just would not be enough good roles for people of color. You know, there's a few characters like Black Panther or Luke Cage, characters like that, who were created specifically with this in mind of creating more visibility. You know, it was comics, so they weren't thinking about actors yet, but more visibility for actors of color, but they are relatively few.
Yes. So that's kind of like the lens that we're going to be talking about. Obviously, you know, there are... So it's not just about, like, the content of the movie, I'd say. It's also about, like, the choices made in the creation.
Some of the metafictional, metatextual elements.
Okay, cool. But once again, you know, like, you know, I feel like... I don't know about Danny, but, like, I'm a big fan of, like, most of these movies. I think, you know, it's possible to, like, talk about, like, sort of the certain elements of a movie and how they age well or how they don't, without saying that, you know, this movie's bad or you shouldn't watch it at all.
Yeah.
Once again, with perhaps one exception.
We all have problematic faves. As everyone says, it's very important to be able to critically examine something that you still enjoy. I love H.P. Lovecraft. I love William S. Burroughs. I love Edgar Rice Burroughs. And all three of these guys said, and in William S. Burroughs' case, did some truly, truly uncool things.
I was just about
but I can enjoy their writing.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to ask who William S. Burroughs is, but I guess
I
don't want to know anymore.
Very important poet and writer of the Beat generation. Loved drugs. Really loved drugs.
Everyone loves drugs.
Not like he did.
Okay, well, let's leave it at that. Okay, and hopefully this won't be too controversial. You know, assuming anyone's watching this video. It's just for fun.
Yeah, do not take any of what we're saying too seriously.
Yeah. Okay, and of course, you know, once again, we can't really speak on as many perspectives as is probably required. So
yeah, and if we give a movie too much slack, in your opinion,
yeah, just put it in the comments.
Let us know.
Let us know. Yes.
Because, yeah, we're not going to be able to think of everything. And some of these movies I haven't seen. Some of them I haven't seen in a really long time. I'm sure it's the same. I know you haven't seen Sub-Zero.
We're also going off by memory. Like, this is... Don't take this seriously at all.
So let's get to it.
Let's get to it. So we're going by...
more or less chronologically.
Let's just go through our ranks. So starting with the lowest in terms of the racism meter is actively anti-racist. That's like if a movie has like an intentional, like, you know, it's literally against racism in the themes of itself.
That's never going to be like the whole point of the movie because that's not what Batman's about.
Well,
but
there is one. Okay, I'll get to it.
It's going to be some of these movies. It's definitely there.
Yeah. And then makes an effort. So it's like kind of like, you know, maybe it plays lip service a bit, but it's not like
could have executed things a little better.
Yeah. So we could give it like anti-racism points. Racially neutral is just kind of like I like, you know, not much to talk about. Although if something's racially neutral, that tends to mean that like it's just all white people, right?
Usually, yes. And you know, that's a C grade.
Yeah. So maybe it is kind of like problematic that we're considering like if because like those are all choices.
Neutrality is inherently problematic. Neutrality is taking the side of the oppressor, right? So
yeah, okay, but you know, let's leave it. Let's just
we'll call
keep that in mind. Let's just as we keep going with this, somewhat racist. If they're
self-explanatory,
and wholly internment camps Batman. So this is the gold standard racism, and you know what?
Shockingly racist.
So.
Really bad.
Perfect place to start, because here we go.
Let's talk about wartime Batman serials.
Batman, the first Batman movie, the first Batman serial, Batman 1943.
43, the height of the war.
Height of the war in America, we should say.
Yes. Now, I have not seen this film, lucky me. So tell me a little about it and why it's so terrible.
So so let me go over the plot of Batman 43. So the bad guy is called Dr. Daka. He is a Japanese person in America. I forget if he's like a spy or if he's like an evil citizen. I don't remember the details. But his goal is to use mind control on American citizens to free Japanese people from internment camps so that they could take over America. I think that's what it is. By the way, Daka...
Guessing he's a white actor in yellow.
Yeah, played by Daka, played by a white guy with the fucking...
Probably
eyes.
Werner Oland again.
Who?
There was an actor named Werner Oland who was big in the 40s and 30s. He was Swedish, I believe, and he made a whole career out of yellowface. He played like Charlie Chan in a couple movies. And
I don't think that's him, but listen. I just want to... I'm on my phone. I'm pulling...
There were a bunch of these guys. It was not...
This, okay, so...
Mickey Rooney.
No, it's actually J. Carroll Naish.
Oh, no!
Why? You know him?
He was in some good stuff.
Oh, well...
Wait, why do I know his name?
He also... Okay.
He wasn't Fugitive from a Chain Gang, was he? No, that was Paul Mooney.
Okay, apparently... Listen, his Wikipedia page says... of Irish descent, he rarely played an Irishman, explaining, when the part of an Irishman comes along, no one ever thinks of me. Instead, he portrayed numerous other ethnicities, including Southern European, especially Italian, Eastern European, Latin American, Native American, Middle Eastern, South Asian, East Asian, Pacific Islander, even African American.
Oh dear.
Which earned him the moniker Hollywood's one-man UN.
Okay, you know what? I take back any disappointment I may have had that he would stoop to this. I actually don't... I know his name from somewhere, but I don't know where. I'm sure I've seen him in something. I think it said on your screen there that he was in one of the Universal horror movies, so that's probably where I've seen his name, in the credits or something. All right, fuck this guy.
Yeah. But you know, once again, you know, it is, like...
Probably from the north of Ireland.
Yeah, but also, like...
Bad part.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. Because, like, I was about to say, you know, back then it was, like, acceptable. But also, like, you know, he willingly played this fucking
Yeah. And there are degrees of this. Like, there's this wonderful old movie from 1940 called The Thief of Baghdad. And it is set in and around Baghdad. And most of the cast are white. And it stars one of my all-time favorite actors, Conrad Veidt, as the wicked Vizier Jafar. And... So, you know, it is undeniably a problematic film that Conrad Veidt is in what is effectively brownface. But I think there isn't quite the same history of just, like, outright mockery and cruelty that there is with blackface. And this movie, it is problematic, but I think they more or less meant well, and it's just kind of what it's going to be at the time. And the actor playing the actual Thief of Baghdad was... actually a brown guy, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
And he's the hero.
Yeah. But anyways, getting back to this Batman movie for a bit. So like I said, the bad guy, you know, Batman calls him, you know, slurs.
Oh dear.
He also, there's a part where it's like the camera like pans over like little Tokyo, but it's all abandoned because everyone's been locked up. And it's the fucking narration's just like, look, like, you know, thanks to the wise government, little Tokyo is now empty because of those, you know, those shifty-eyed J words.
Does he say shifty-eyed?
Something like that. But it's it's a narration, like, just like, no, this is how you're supposed to read.
Oh, wow.
And listen. I know, you know, your kids say, this is, you know, set in World War II. Of course, that's how they would feel. But here's the thing. Even if you take that out, there's a scene where a friggin' Native American character shows up.
Big air quotes.
Native American character. Played by, like, you know, played by a white guy.
Probably J. Carroll Naish again.
Maybe he got 2 paychecks. And he's just, like, you know, he's played a white guy in a cowboy hat and he's just talking like, you know, the Incredible Hulk. Giving directions. Like, that's... So, like, listen, even if you... want to excuse like the you know, it was World War II, blah blah blah.
I don't think that excuses it. That can put context.
That's
but
true.
Like interning Japanese Americans and Japanese Canadians, like, let's not pretend we were any better.
Oh yeah, by the way, we're both Canadian.
We are both Canadian.
Okay.
Interning of people of Japanese descent across North America did not help the war effort in any way. It was a dumb, mean policy, and we're not talking about Imperial Japan, who did some truly horrible atrocities and war crimes during that war. We're talking about people who deliberately left that country and came to
North
just
America, yeah.
just try to get better lives for their family, and then they were sent to the fucking swamps.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very, very well put. Yeah, so I think
couldn't Batman have just fought some Nazis? Like,
yeah, what if he went to Germany?
Yeah.
And, well, no, I mean, Pearl Harbor happened, but you know what I mean, or even if you had at least Bugs Bunny.
Oh, some of those Bugs Bunny cartoons were pretty bad.
But at least he went to.
Yeah, that's true. At least he was fighting Japan, not
Japanese American citizens.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the fucking racial caricatures and all that.
It's bad
bullshit. Yeah. But by the way, while we're on the subject of Bugs Bunny, I just want to say, as an Asian man growing up with Bugs Bunny and watching those and I'm Chinese, so I'm not Japanese, but he's calling those Japanese people squinty eyed and all that stuff, and it's kind of hurtful. But it makes me really happy because right now Bugs Bunny is voiced by Eric Bauza, an Asian man from Toronto, and that just fucking ruled. As an Asian man from Toronto, that makes me feel good. That is the representation I need. And
I've seen enough old racist comics from that era to know that they didn't differentiate between Japan and Korea and China, and I've seen Vietnam. No, it was a World War II comic where Wonder Woman or somebody is fighting a bunch of Japanese soldiers in front of this gigantic vampire Buddha statue.
Yeah.
And there aren't that many Buddhists in Japan. There's some Buddhists in Japan, but it's not. It's just Asian thing mashed together with other Asian things because they knew the readers didn't care. Yeah. They didn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, so I think we've talked about this terrible movie long enough. This movie itself, 15 exciting chapters. And
it's a serial, so it's very episodically structured. Exactly. Are they all about why Internment is great?
I mean, it's one overarching plot.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so moving on to Batman and Robin. No, not that Batman and Robin. This is Batman and Robin from 1949, I believe.
Is it better or worse than the one with George Clooney?
I say it's worse because the George Clooney one is not in terms of racism, just in terms of quality.
Yeah,
the George Clooney one is really fucking hilarious. I love watching it. It just makes me It
has some really good stuff on the soundtrack. Soul Coughing, Smashing Pumpkins, REM.
Also, I think it's just unironically funny.
Okay, maybe I should give it another shot.
Yeah. But anyways, so this one, 1949, World War II is over. So
who's Batman fighting?
Is
he fighting to stay awake because it's such a boring movie?
No, so here's the thing. The bad guy in this movie is this guy. He wears a mask the entire thing, and it's supposed to be a twist as to who it is. But the problem is, it's just 15 or whatever serial little movies of him fighting this personality-less guy because they're trying to keep it a mystery.
Oh.
So they can't give him any actual personality. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's boring.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, everyone's white. This is racially neutral, which once again, as we said earlier, might be a misnomer. It just because it doesn't really. It's not like this where it's just intentionally. Going after Japanese people. This one's just kind of everyone's white.
I might call that somewhat racist then. Even if it never addresses it directly, just the fact that there's no diversity at all. And we're going to get to some movies later on that are, I would say, fairly neutral, but still have a little bit of diversity.
I would say let's leave it here for now, and at the end we can put these things, reassess. Wow, what a way to start this.
Anything else to say about a very boring film serial?
I mean, listen, if you're a fan of old-fashioned action, black and white action, it's not bad. It's the plot's really boring, but you do see Batman beat people up and stuff. So I would recommend checking this out. Maybe not so much the racist one, but this one's at least. Okay, well, the racist ones were entertaining because the bad guy is a personality. You know what I mean? He's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Ming the Merciless kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this one's just kind of completely vacuum of an antagonist.
Now we get to the all-time
Yes.
greatest live-action Batman movie.
So Batman 66. Cesar Romero, first live-action Joker, I believe, played
I think
by
so.
a Latino.
A gay Latino.
Yeah, Joker. I said Cesar Romero first, played by
plays
the
the Joker.
first. But yeah, so
And also, this is a movie that is fundamental, like, the main plot is about saving the UN. Not the one-man UN, the real UN.
not J. Carroll Nash, the actual. But yeah, so this is the part where Danny and I kind of have like a bit of a
Because it's the first
friction.
movie here we've both seen.
Yeah, it's the first one here we've both seen.
I would call this one makes an effort.
Yeah, it's just that because like when they go to the UN, like
There's a lot of national
every
stereotype.
character is basically a national stereotype.
Yeah, and it does fall back on that.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can put a clip of it, but we can put like imagery of it.
No solamente in Europa. Pour votre attitude belligérante. À cause, man fadlik.
Gentlemen, it is the considered opinion of Her Majesty's government that we pursue peace at all costs.
Gentlemen, my country understands your position, but in the interest of peace, we must pursue peace. We realize that you want peace as well.
日本人は
The USSR
平和、平和、
we are doing everything in our possible power.
Yeah, it's none of it. To me, my blindered, privileged self, none of these stereotypes strike me as especially hurtful or offensive, but they're definitely there.
Yeah, you're right. I would say makes an effort.
Yeah, because
makes an effort.
there are elements of it that don't age as well, but you can tell that the intent was there and it was good. And also, this movie just fucking rules.
It is such
So
a
good.
good movie. Wow, we're moving through these pretty quickly compared to our last one.
We are.
Well,
there's,
but then again, the last one had like a lot more things.
I think it's going to slow down once we get into the movies that we have both seen, and or into more of those, and there's more to debate. Because for the serials, you're just describing them
I'm
to
just
me.
describing.
So let's get to the Tim Burton movie.
I kind of wish that I made you see the serials, and then we could have a debate over whether or not the internment camp one is racist, and then you.
Well, I don't see how it could not. I'm not going to take the role of like the straw man white guy who's like, oh, it's not so
I
bad.
mean, haven't you ever been to like debate club in high school where like you have to take
No,
a side?
I never did. I never joined a club to debate positions that I did not myself hold.
Okay. So Batman.
Michael Keaton
Batman. By the way, R.I.P. Batgirl.
Oh, yeah.
If Batgirl was here, I'm assuming it would be like here in the green.
Probably.
Because it seemed like. But okay, so
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
I heard the Batgirl TV show was decent. I don't know.
There's a Batgirl TV. Oh, you mean the Birds of Prey TV show?
Wasn't there a Batgirl show that was like, I think Ruby Rose was in it?
No, that's Batwoman, which
Batwoman.
is a different character.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, so and I think that's one of the reasons why Batgirl was canceled, because people were associating it with Batwoman, and Batwoman got bad reviews.
So Batgirl is to Batwoman what Batboy is to Batman.
Sure.
Did they find Batgirl in a cave?
Okay, let's moving on.
All right.
Okay, Michael Keaton Batman.
I'm gonna call it somewhere between racially neutral and makes an effort.
Yeah, because like they make Two-Face.
He's not Two-Face, Harvey Dent. The great Billy D. Williams.
Which, like we said at the beginning, casting people of color in traditionally white roles is sort of making an effort to overcome systemic racism.
Now, I don't know if at the time they were aware that Harvey Dent was such an important character. There is reason to believe that Tim Burton just didn't really know anything about any of these characters.
I don't know if we need reason to believe, because Tim Burton literally said like, "Oh, I haven't read any comics except for The Killing Joke."
Okay, yeah, I wanted to be subtler about it, but
and even then, he drastically misunderstood The Killing Joke, because The Killing Joke's like, oh, it's about like a normal person who turns into a Joker, but Batman is like, oh, it's about a crime boss who turns into a crime boss in white makeup. Like,
yeah,
it's just, I don't know.
He goes from like already a nut to it's the problem a few people have had with another Jack Nicholson transformation in The Shining, where he's already, even at the beginning of the movie, you can tell he's unstable. Whereas in the book of The Shining, it's supposed to be this more gradual transformation of like a good man into a monster. In the movie, he's like already kind of nuts and creepy. Whereas in Batman, it is like he's already just absolutely out there. The only thing that changes about him once he falls into the vat of chemicals is that he changes into a clown. But he's already... It's not a change in his personality in any way. He's just already like that. But that has nothing to do with race. That's just Tim Burton being kind of lazy about storytelling.
That's true. So, yeah, you're right. I think somewhere between racially neutral and makes an effort. Do we want to give it the benefit of doubt and just put in makes an effort?
For now, I guess.
Let's do that. Makes an effort.
I haven't seen it in a long time, so...
But it doesn't make as big an effort as Batman 66. Though.
No, but we only have 5 levels.
That's true. Okay, let's put it here. Now, Batman Returns.
Or we could bump Batman 66 up into the green.
I
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Batman Returns. I call that one more racially neutral.
Yeah, like what? I'm trying to think. Is there even...
It has kind of a... This is something that I don't think is deliberate on Tim Burton's part, but it comes up in a lot of his movies. There is kind of this vaguely conservative mindset where, like, Edward Scissorhands is supposed to be like this critique of suburbia, but he actually makes suburbia look great.
But then we have, like, okay, but like in Batman Returns, we have, Christopher Walken, Max Schreck, who's like this evil... Like,
oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an evil capitalist.
Yeah, and like, Catwoman, who's like this... By the way, fucking Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, she's great in that.
That's, the Killing Joke done right. Like a normal person.
Yeah, I guess it is.
One bad day turning into a, freeing herself from the reality.
Yeah, and her arc is, I would say, maybe the strongest element of the film.
Yeah, but that's not relevant.
Of either film, possibly.
Like, by the way, you may notice, this isn't relevant to racism, but we're just like...
While we're talking about Batman Returns, it's going to come up.
Yeah.
There is something in the characterization of the Penguin and his clowns.
Oh, wait. Are you...
Oh, no,
because the whole, like...
I'm not going to call the Penguin an anti-Semitic caricature.
Okay.
He is clearly modeled on Dr. Caligari from The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a German film, and the actor who played Dr. Caligari would go on to become an actual Nazi.
Wait, why are you... How does that help your case? That Penguin isn't an anti-Semitic caricature?
Because I don't think The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is an anti-Semitic movie. One of the actors turned out to be no good, but another of the actors, my man Conrad Veidt, would go on to make anti-Nazi propaganda during the war. The point is, Penguin is meant to invoke a specifically German film villain. I don't think there's anything like, okay, he's got a big nose, but like he's a penguin.
He got the Moses allegory, the Moses symbolism. At the beginning.
I didn't think of that.
Backtrack.
Okay.
Okay. Well, listen. I don't listen.
Where I was going with this was just that, like, his whole like clowns thing and his whole circus thing. I don't think this was the intent, but it does tap a little bit into like anti-Zionist in imagery.
Anti what?
Zionist. It's fear of Romany people.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And I don't think that was intentional, but it's something that is just kind of baked deeply into a lot of our horror fiction, unfortunately.
I never thought of it that way. You know what that reminds me of? I think they have something similar in the TV show Gotham, because the Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot, his mom, I don't know if you know this.
I haven't seen the show.
His mom is played by the amazing Carol Kane.
Ooh.
Has like I don't know if it's like a Romani accent, but like it definitely does have this
kind of
exotic European kind of like so maybe that is something that like, and
it has usually not been a key element of the Penguin's character. Most versions of him I've seen are very like stuffy and posh. Yeah, because he's supposed to be like, because like Tim Burton created the whole thing of like he's like an outsider living the sewers. Like in the in the comics, the Penguin was just like a rich asshole. Yeah, right? that's what he is in the '66 Batman. He's like, he has a very beaky nose, but he's still. We never get a sense that he's like been ostracized from society. He's just like some guy who likes to steal things. The '66 Batman show was not, and movie, were not very interested in like the complex psychological profiles of the villains. They were all just like, I steal things and have a gimmick. So I think we'll put... I'd call it neutral.
Yeah,
Because what I'm perceiving as like maybe some elements of anti-Satanism are very, very honestly kind of tenuous, because they're more creepy clowns than they are creepy Romany fortune tellers or something like that. There can be overlap, but like I'm not going to say that Killer Clowns from Outer Space or It are tapping into anti-Satanist imagery. Mm-hmm. Clowns are more Italian than anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I don't understand that.
You have to go into the history of like Commedia dell'arte and.
Okay. So.
Batman
Forever. Certainly, so I will say this: Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, certainly the two least homophobic Batman movies.
I suppose that's unless Birds of Prey.
But we didn't establish that as a Batman movie because Batman
I guess.
doesn't appear in it.
All right. I would have included Birds of Prey on this list, and I would have put it in the green section, but it is not here because Batman does not actually appear, even though he is mentioned a few times.
Mm-hmm. So Batman Forever, more circus imagery. I don't know if you remember any like.
It was. I just got more sense. I haven't seen it in a while, but what I remember is mostly just kind of like European nightclub imagery to go with the movie's subtext, but I would put it under somewhat racist for the very simple fact that they recast Billy D. Williams.
Yeah. Oh, I almost forgot about that. Yeah,
because we can't have Billy D. Williams knew that Harvey Dent was eventually going to become a major supervillain, and that's a big part of why he agreed to the role, because he thought, great, this will lead to something cool later on, and he had in his contract, if they recast me, I get a big payout, because he knew there was a very good chance they probably would, because God forbid a black man get cast in a major role in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
In the 90s, at least. Like,
right.
that's
so
different now.
If it wasn't for the fact that this movie screwed over a black actor, probably racially neutral, but because it did, somewhat racist.
And they cast
somewhat racist.
Tommy Lee Jones giving the most miserable and joyless performance of his career. He also hated being there.
Like, they couldn't have replaced Billy D. Williams with another black actor? Like, seriously?
No, God, no. They can't have that.
Okay, serious question. I don't know that time as much as you do. Danny's older than me, by the way.
Yes.
But yeah, who would you have cast
as Two-Face?
If not Tommy Lee Jones?
Billy D. Williams.
No, if Billy D. Williams, didn't.
That's a tricky one. I did a few years ago put together like my ideal Batman movie cast, and I think as Two-Face I had Tom Cruise.
Sorry, no, but I was talking about if you were to pick a black actor from that time.
Yeah, if I specifically wanted to make Two-Face black, you know who would have been great? LeVar Burton.
Name sounds familiar. Who is he?
Geordie LaForge from Star Trek.
Oh my God!
Reading Rainbow.
Yes,
he would have been good.
He would have been because like the whole point of Two-Face, like in the movie, I felt like what they were trying to do was he was supposed to be like Tommy Lee, like a really gruff, serious counterpoint foil to Jim Carrey. Mm-hmm. But then because you know what I read, I'm sure that you must also have read the same thing. Because Danny reads a lot about movies. I do. Is that Tommy Lee Jones hated Jim Carrey so much that he just he just tried to like constantly like match his energy to like upstage him or something.
And I feel like that kind of works with the movie's extremely high camp aesthetic that just like everyone is making big choices. In theory, in practice, not so well because they're not. There isn't good direction to make the big choices work together.
That's true.
But
yeah, so somewhat racist.
I think LeVar Burton would have been able to. I'd like to think he would have been able to bring the kind of sense of humor that would have really benefited that movie.
Yes. Oh God, now you're making me sad that didn't happen.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Okay, Batman
Mask of the Phantasm, which I honestly don't remember a single person of color.
No. I remember. Listen.
I haven't seen it in a while.
The scene. Let me set the picture. It's at the Wayne Manor. It's at a party. Group of women talking about Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. Black woman says, never say the marriage around Bruce. And then
because he's such a loner.
Asian woman says, and never say the I word either. So another character says, what I word? And she goes, engagement? That is a joke about that Asian woman not knowing English.
Oh.
This goes wholly internment camps, man.
Oh, that bad
Wholly
for
internment
one
camps,
joke,
Batman.
though.
No, as the person of color, I get to make that call. Okay, moving on. Batman and Robin. Okay.
That seems harsh. It was one joke.
Okay, seriously.
I appeal your decision.
Okay, somewhat racist.
That's too bad. It's otherwise a great film.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin. I haven't actually seen Batman and Robin.
Oh, you haven't?
My understanding is that it is as white as the snow that Mr. Freeze brings.
That's okay. It has. I'm trying to think. Okay, Bane is.
Oh yeah, Bane is in it.
Who plays Bane? Is he played by a Latino actor?
I don't know if Bane has ever in live action been played by a Latino actor. I know that we're not talking about the movie Mystery of the Batwoman, which is an animated film that did not get a theatrical release. I've seen it. It's all right. Bane is the main villain, and he is voiced by Danny Trejo. And it is terrific.
He's also voiced by Danny Trejo in Young Justice, I think.
Good.
Danny Trejo, if he was just like slightly younger, they would have like cast him already as.
Bane is odd because he's clearly supposed to be a Mexican wrestler. And they keep casting Danny Trejo, who is great at this kind of performance. But I believe in the comics, canonically, Bane is actually not supposed to be Mexican. He's supposed to be from somewhere in, like, Argentina. I believe he's supposed to be South American.
Isn't he? Yeah. He's supposed to be, like, I think from, like, some fictional, from a...
Yeah, the South American equivalent to Latveria.
Something like that. Yeah, fictional South American. Okay, so, Bane was played by... Robert Swenson, who is a white guy from Texas. I will say, though, I'm looking at this picture of Robert Swenson, and, we can put the picture up in editing.
Yeah.
He is fucking swole.
Yes, he is.
Like, I completely understand casting this guy to play Bane.
And Bane is wearing a mask anyway, so his...
But that's still... But as we established before, it's more about, like, taking a job away from...
That's true.
Potential, like, Latino actor.
Yeah, and I'm sure they could have found... I just mentioned the world of Mexican wrestling, for example. I'm sure they could have found a big, bulky, swole Mexican dude who could have played the role just fine.
Yeah.
They could have cast Blue Demon Jr.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was around yet, but...
So, because of that... Are we going to put both... Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
Both Schumachers, somewhat racist, literally just because... And I was kind of joking about that. Let's just put this in racially neutral. Okay. I do not think that one... line was like an offensive joke about Asian people.
I mean, it is the character saying something kind of dumb, but my understanding is the main stereotype about Asian people is that y'all are supposed to be like really clever and good at math.
Yeah.
It doesn't tie into a stereotype. I guess there is like the giggly dumb Asian girl stereotype we have.
But she's not like she speaks. She doesn't have an accent, for example. I think it's just
that would have been
I think
bad.
Her race is just like circumstantial. It's not
okay.
But anyways, so I haven't seen Sub-Zero, so I'm gonna pass the mic to Danny.
So I haven't seen Sub-Zero in quite a while. I remember one of the thing about it that is relevant to this discussion is that Mr. Freeze, who doesn't suck in this movie, Mr. Freeze has his lair in the Arctic, and he enlists this like 13-year-old Inuit boy to help him out around the lab. And so this is the only superhero movie I can think of with an Inuit person in it. And this boy has a pretty... I don't know if the voice actor is himself Inuit or First Nations, but he is a well-defined character. And he has an arc where he gradually realizes, hey, I think I'm on the wrong side, and he helps Batgirl escape. So I'm inclined to put it under makes an effort.
Yeah, I think so too, but I'm just gonna just because I want to make things harder for you, I'm just gonna look up to see who voiced
Let's do that.
What's the name of the character?
I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Oh.
I think his name might have been Dick Grayson. No, that's someone else.
Kunak is the name.
Yes.
Kunak.
Well, while you're looking for that, I'm just gonna say Sub-Zero fell through the cracks for a lot of people because it came out around the time when a lot of people did not want to hear any stories about Mr. Freeze. But Sub-Zero is a terrific movie. I think it's one of the best Batman movies, or at least I thought that at the time. I haven't seen it in a while, and maybe Kunak's characterization is a lot less sensitive than I remember, so I could be wrong, but I remember being really impressed by it, and Mr. Freeze's tragic arc in that movie is great.
So Rahi Azizi, who voices Kunuk, apparently, and I could be wrong, I literally just Googled. Yeah, it's saying Rahi Azizi, and I think he's like...
I don't believe he's Inuit, but with that name, I'm guessing he's not white.
He's a person of color. Yeah, you know, let's do it. Makes an effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good place to put it.
Because, you know, the movie did not address themes of, like, structural inequality and the suffering of Inuit people, but, like, they had a well-defined person of color character in a way that you don't see all that often.
Mm-hmm. Correct. I'm assuming I haven't seen it. Okay, so Batman vs. Dracula, another movie that we've both seen.
Masterpiece.
Great
film.
Great fucking film. Batman vs. Dracula.
Peter Stormare as Dracula.
Okay, question. Is Dracula... What race is Dracula?
Dracula...
Just, like, traditional.
The traditional Vlad the Impaler, and I believe this movie specifically ties its Dracula into the historical Vlad the Impaler, which not every version of the story does. He was the king of Wallachia, which is part of what is now Romania.
Okay.
He was, I believe, mainly Hungarian is where his family were from. White, Christian, did not get along with the Ottomans.
Okay. And he was played by...
Peter Stormare, who is Swedish.
Okay, so I guess that's
but,
fine.
You know...
Nothing wrong there.
It's a Swede playing a Romanian. I don't think Dracula has ever been played by a Romanian in a film, at least. If an English actor can play Hamlet, let's not split hairs.
That's true. I will say this movie has Kevin Michael Richardson as the Joker.
Yes.
Black guy playing the Joker. I think that's, you know, and also Kevin Michael Richardson. Best Joker voice, come fight me. I don't give a shit.
I'm inclined to say Mark Hamill, but Kevin Michael Richardson is up there. He's a great voice actor.
His voice goes from like really low to really high.
Oh yeah, he's great
in the same set. Like, you know what? I'm gonna put makes an effort just for Kevin Michael Richardson.
And I like how his. Because when you're casting a black actor in a villainous role, inevitably I think you want to be careful with this. You don't want him to fall into stereotypes about like the scary, dangerous black man. But if you're too careful with that, what you're going to end up doing is just limiting the roles that black actors are allowed to play, and they'll miss out on opportunities to play some truly great villainous roles. And I don't think that this version of the Joker falls into any particular stereotypes. I think it's cool that, like, yeah, this is a role that anyone should be able to play. He's the Joker. Let Kevin Michael Richardson have a fucking blast portraying this awesome character.
I mean, he does have dreads. I don't know if that...
Yeah, but, like, that's...
Okay.
But you know, he's not a thug. He's not a gangsta.
Yeah, I know. I understand what you mean.
I mean, listening to him speak, listening to that voice, this is unmistakably a black man's voice. Mm-hmm. And sure, he's got dreads, but...
But I should point out that the character he plays is not a black man, because in one episode where they go into the Joker's brain, you see a memory of him from before he was the Joker, and he is, you know, unmistakably like a white guy, but he's still voiced by Kevin Michael.
Which is so strange to me. It's like how Anakin Skywalker, the moment he turns into Darth Vader, suddenly becomes James Earl Jones.
Yeah. But that's a very good conversation, a very good point you made about, like, you know, having like people of color in villainous roles, and that brings us to what I think is going to be the best, what I was really looking forward to, Batman Begins. Now, Batman Begins.
Ken Watanabe as Ra's al Ghul.
Okay, first of all,
Ra's al Ghul.
No, listen. Batman Begins did fix something very racist in Batman, which is making the pronunciation of Ra's al Ghul closer to the actual Arabic, because the whole Ra's al Ghul thing that was created by, like, you know, whoever wrote the cartoon, it was just made up. It was by people who did not speak Arabic. Ra's al Ghul, complete bullshit.
Oh, really?
And I'm so glad. I was so happy that Batman Begins like made it so that to be fair, it's not entirely Ra's al Ghul. The actual thing is closer like Ras al Ghul.
There's a line in the movie when we first learned that Liam Neeson a white actor,
Yeah.
was Al Ghul the whole time. It's at like a party at Wayne Manor, and a lady says like, "Am I pronouncing it correctly, Mr. Ra's al Ghul?"
That's true. And
Which I'm sure is a joking
Yeah,
little nod to this whole discussion we're having now.
Yes. So I do give it points for making the pronunciation of Ras al Ghul closer to the actual thing. And by the way, maybe I'm off too. I'm not fluent in Arabic. If you're fluent in Arabic and you know that I'm wrong, just let me know.
We do have to address the fact that Al Ghul, however you pronounce the first part, is portrayed by...
First portrayed by Ken Watanabe, and then portrayed by Liam Neeson, who turns out to be the real one. Or, the real one. It's implied that it's just like a title held by many people.
Yeah, he says like, Al Ghul has been many men.
But, I will say this. Batman Begins was made 2004. 2004. 3 years.
5? Was it 5? I thought it was 5.
Well, it was released in 2005.
Yeah.
They were writing it and stuff. 2004, maybe even earlier. Right after September 11th.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it totally... And honestly, I think that what they did by, like, shifting the League of Shadows, or, in the comics they're called League of Assassins, to a more, like, Eastern Asian sort of aesthetic... And also, Liam Neeson, as, white as he is. I think it makes sense for them to do that, because otherwise the movie might be like,
casting a Middle Eastern actor as a villain that year might have been a little too...
Especially because the movie itself has so much 9/11 imagery.
It sure do.
About fear and like, we're going to blow up the buildings in the...
Yeah. Hijack a train. Not a plane, but, still a hijack.
And I think that it made sense for them to do, because if they didn't, it would just be like, 300,
Yeah.
Where it's like, clearly like, or like 2000s, like anti-release.
Well, there was when Frank Miller wanted to write a Batman comic where Batman was going to like take on Islamic radical terror, and DC wouldn't let him because it was too racist. He wrote the comic anyway, it just wasn't about Batman. It was about a new character that he made up.
So in that way, like, I feel like there was very much like a discussion in like Christopher Nolan's writing room. Whoever I think he enrolled, I don't know.
David S. Goyer.
Yeah, whatever. Those people.
Jonathan Nolan.
They made like the conscious decision to be like, let's and
now they could have just not used Ra's al Ghul as a villain.
But here's the see, like, obviously it's not like there are other things they could have done, but then again, like, Ra's al Ghul fits so well with the story.
He does,
because the story is like about Batman's origin, which does involve like traveling across the world and like so it works sense for the story. But it could also be like, okay, how about this? Here's a thought experiment. If they casted an Arabic person, a Middle Eastern person to play Ra's al Ghul, and could they have like offset it by having a heroic Middle Eastern person somewhere?
Well, that's what Iron Man did a few years later.
Did it have a... Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Yinsen.
Yeah. Which, by the way...
was originally Vietnamese, I believe.
Yinsen, Asian name. Chinese. I think it's like a Chinese name.
Because in the comics, it was Tony Stark. I don't remember in the movie if it's Iraq or Afghanistan or where it was.
It's like Afghanistan or something.
It's somewhere in there. But I believe in the comics it was originally, because the comics came out in the 60s, he was in Nam, and Yinsen was like a Buddhist pacifist, whereas in the movie he's a Middle Eastern dude.
Who still has the name
he pronounced it in a way that makes it sound kind of Middle Eastern.
Yeah, that's true. But also, while we're on this, Batman Begins and Iron Man, same thing where it's like, oh, you think the main bad guy is this Middle Eastern guy, but then it turns out to be the white.
Which is also what Iron Man 3 did.
Yeah. Yeah, and... No, not Iron Man.
Iron Man 3 is the one with the Mandarin, who is for some reason played by a partly East Indian actor, but it was actually all the white Australian man the whole time.
Yeah. Right. So, so it's a kind of this recurring... It's like after 9/11 where it's like people didn't want to, contribute to the Islamophobia. Yeah. And so they did all these things where it's like, oh, the bad guy's actually the white guy.
Yeah, because that way we can, as Iron Man did, at least turn it into a commentary on like the military-industrial complex, who are the real villains because they were arming the terrorists in the first place.
Yeah. So I feel like, and I don't know,
makes an effort, maybe.
Because it's I don't want to say it's actively anti-racist. Because,
no.
Although a very much part of the theme of the movie is fear of each other is going to tear you down.
Yeah, but they don't put that in a racial, even an implicitly racial context.
But it does. But before we move over back,
and the commentary on a post 9/11 environment of fear will destroy us, I think, is very much makes an effort.
That's true. But I will say this. I do think it makes an effort. But before we move on, let's just go over the casting in this movie. Morgan Freeman as
Lucius has always been portrayed as a black man, I think, but he hasn't always been portrayed at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So the fact that Lucius showed up, for all that Morgan Freeman is not the best dude, like, having Lucius show up at all is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Let's also address the scene where Batman hangs out with Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
On the rooftop.
I haven't seen him. I don't have any jokes about that. But also Commissioner Loeb in the comics, he's like this blonde-haired, blue-eyed, corrupt cop.
Yep.
In the movie, he's black and he's like a good cop.
Yeah. I've seen that actor in some other stuff. I like him. Mm-hmm. He was in Jeeves and Wooster.
So, before we move on, I just want to think, do you think, would it be... Well, why am I asking a white dude?
Because I'm the only person that you're going to ask the cat? You're going to ask my cat?
That's true. Just from your white dude perspective.
I'll do my best.
If you're a black actor, do you think it's this, and you got cast as Commissioner Loeb, and you're a big Batman fan, you read the comics, he's oh wait, no, he's not blonde hair. I'm thinking of the other...
Bullock?
No. No, it is... Okay, anyways, he's white in the comics. He's not blonde hair, blue-eyed, but he's white.
Okay.
He's a corrupt white cop. And then in the movie, he's a black, not corrupt cop.
Yeah.
Would you be disappointed if you were a black actor and you're like, oh, I'm gonna play this villainous character, and then you found out, oh, it's
kind of boring. He's not given much to do.
Except die in the second.
Yeah. That's a good question. I would definitely. And this is a problem that will come up in more detail in Dark Knight Rises, but I would definitely be a bit hesitant about rehabilitating a cop character at all. Mm-hmm. Like, I think we should be portraying cops as frequently corrupt, mm-hmm. and the Nolan movies, in my opinion, even Begins least of all of these, but have a little too much respect for the police, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. In Begins, there are a lot of dirty cops that get...
it's implied that in Begins, like, literally the only, like, good cop other than Loeb is...
Jim Gordon.
Yeah. But... I don't know. Like, it's just we don't have to find an answer. It's just
it's a complicated issue.
Yeah, it's just complicated just to talk about. Okay, yeah. So see, I knew Batman Begins was going to be like the one where it's like. But then here I'll say this though.
It's tonally very odd.
Do you feel that, once again, asking a white dude, do you feel that if you were like a Middle Eastern actor, on one hand, yes, it would be like disappointing that you didn't get cast as Ra's al Ghul. But also, it might contribute to the because
and it might have been cool if they'd cast Middle Eastern actors in like other roles in the movie to offset that. But might is a big word, and it would have been cool, but that doesn't mean they owe it to do that. Most movies aren't going to do that.
Right. Oh, by the way, we should probably address the elephant in the room. Why is that this movie casting, like a white guy to play the Dr. Daka, the Japanese guy? Well, first of all, is like, all the way up here, but this is down here. First of all, Ra's al Ghul is never explicitly stated to be a Middle Eastern person. It's just the name.
Yeah.
In the movie, it's just the name.
And I always got the sense, like, even in the cartoons where he's voiced by the late, great David Warner, you don't necessarily get the sense that, like, he is he could be Middle Eastern. He could have spent some time in the Middle East, but Ra's al Ghul is clearly not like the name his parents gave him. It's clearly a title he chose for himself.
His parents just name him Head.
I name you Demon Head.
Demon Head. Okay,
and then we'll have a clash at you.
Yeah. And also because, this one is, explicitly about...
why racism is great.
If Batman Begins was like this would be like, like 300. Like, where it's like, oh, those...
And they took a character who was canonically, like, probably supposed to be from the Middle East, and they cast a white actor, and there's a conversation to be had about that, but they didn't cast a white actor and then give him Middle Eastern makeup and a big pointy beard and have him walk around blowing things up and spraying oil. I don't know.
Okay, so I think we've wrung all the conversation we can out of Batman Begins.
So let's talk Dark Knight. This is the one that will get people mad at us.
Well, we don't know what we're... Okay, yeah, so Dark Knight.
Let's talk about Mr. Lau.
Yeah, the first thing, Chinese guy in the room speaking. I think this was, like, the first, like, really, like, important Chinese character I've seen in, like, an American, like, when I was a kid, you know? I'm trying to think. Was there, like, one... Maybe, like, when I was, like... Well, what movies did I watch?
See anything, like, Jackie Chan movie or anything with Bruce Lee?
No. Well...
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a bad Chinese person, but...
Well, you were a child.
Yeah. But, like, you know, I think most of my memories were, like, superhero movies, like, that I saw in theaters as a kid. And this was, like, the
think
first
of any superhero
Chinese
movies
character.
before that with major Chinese characters.
Yeah.
Or major Asian characters at all, really.
Yeah. So I definitely give a point for having a Chinese character. But however, you know, there are problems with Mr. Lau's portrayal that no one would pick up on unless, you know, you're doing like a tier list of racism.
We could complain that he has nothing to do with the rest of the movie and his entire subplot could have been cut and you'd lose nothing.
But also, here's the thing, I like him. Like, you know, it's just...
The actor does a good job.
Just because he's, like, you know...
I've seen that actor in something else.
He was in Winter Soldier. He was also in Arrow. He's in a lot of superhero stuff.
Right, I haven't seen those.
But here's the thing. First of all, one of his major line is, "I'm good with calculation," which, you know...
And I play the violin.
My parents were very strict. Which, you know, is a you know, it's like a positive stereotype, but it's a stereotype nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the point a lot of people have made, like a lot of the stereotypes we have about Jews are ostensibly positive. Oh no, it's a compliment. They're good with money. That's a good thing. It's not.
It's not.
The positive stereotype is still like dehumanizing and harmful.
Exactly.
I'm sure we can all agree.
Yeah. Also, he lives in Hong Kong apparently.
Yeah, Batman goes to Hong Kong to do some extrajudicial extradition.
But he speaks Mandarin, which...
Oh, does he?
Which is, like... Hong Kong is mostly... Wait, let me just... Wait, what am I doing?
Oh, you're screen grabbing.
Yeah,
use
sorry.
your phone.
I'm going to use my phone. Because... What dialect do they speak in Hong Kong?
Congolese. That's not a language either. I don't think.
Okay, yeah, so Cantonese is mainly spoken in... Okay, like, here, I'll say this. It's not impossible that there's, like, this, you know, this Mando and...
Mando, as in Lorian?
What? No, man.
The Mandalorian?
As in, like, a Mandarin speaker in Hong Kong. But it's kind of like... I don't know. It would have been more culturally right to have, like, a Cantonese speaker instead of them go, like, feng shou.
Yeah, it seems like they probably didn't really
do like
bother to look it up.
Yeah, they're just like, and because I'm pretty sure the actor isn't from China, he's like Singaporean or something, so he probably didn't give a shit either. But yeah, so so we've talked about the China. Also, he's kind of a coward.
Yeah,
like, that's kind of, you know, the old stereotype of Chinese people being like cowardly. So yeah, that's pretty. I'm going to call it somewhat right. Yeah, I will call it somewhat racist.
And let's clarify. The Dark Knight is still, in many ways, a very good movie.
Yeah. Once again, very good movie. One of my favorite movies. But also, you know, if we weren't doing this tier list, no one would think about this.
And as we said at the beginning, something that you enjoy can still have problems that are worth talking about.
Yes.
I think The Call of Cthulhu is one of the greatest horror novellas ever written, but it is quite racist.
Yeah. Obviously, like, okay, The Dark Knight is not as racist as H.P. Lovecraft, but...
Well, it depends on the Lovecraft story.
Well, okay, wait.
Some of them are alright.
Other characters in The Dark Knight, not just the Chinese person, because I'm Chinese. The black guy, played by Michael J. White. Michael J. White, yes.
He's a gangster, but he's like...
He's like, you know, he's not like this stereotypical...
Yeah, he's not wearing chains and a hoodie.
Yeah, he's not like the sort of like, you know, the sort of whenever you see like, you know, a black criminal and like racist caricatures kind of
he's not
bullshit.
that.
Yeah, he's not that. So I don't know, but like,
and like the rest of Gotham's gangland seems fairly multicultural. Like there's the Eastern European gang,
the Chechen,
that's the Chechens were, and there's Eric Roberts,
yeah.
Eric Roberts' Italian gang. Sure, why not? I believed Adrian Brody is an Italian gangster.
But they did once again not ask Billy D. Williams to like reprise Two-Face. So this goes into wholly. Okay. But like
Aaron Eckhart was really good in that though.
Yeah, he was.
I miss seeing him in things.
Only movie I've ever seen him in.
Stupid Frankenstein movie.
I've never seen anything else. Okay.
No, yeah.
I think those are all the people of color in The Dark Knight, right?
That I can think of.
Okay.
Am I missing something? Am I forgetting somebody?
No. Like we said before, Loeb from the first one died.
Yeah.
Wait, so who survives? Does every person of color? Well, no, Morgan Freeman survived.
Morgan Freeman's still around.
Yeah.
He
well,
doesn't get as much to do, but he's in it.
Also, the fucking the convict that throws the thing outside, arguably the greatest character in that movie, who takes the trigger and throws it outside. You know what? Maybe this makes
we could.
That doesn't overshadow it.
Yeah,
but definitely give it points. For
I
that.
liked because like. The convict who is kind of everything we were just saying a second ago Michael J. White was not.
Yeah.
He's very much your stereotypical big, like, Michael J. White is also pretty big, but the movie doesn't emphasize that as much. This guy is, like, very physically imposing. He looks like, you know, the guy you would stereotypically expect to see on the prison ship.
In like, you know, like an Arkham game, the henchman kind of.
And then he, like, makes this completely selfless moral choice that the bougie white people on the other ship have much more trouble. Like, they make the right choice eventually, but...
Although I will say, there are, you know, people of color on the bougie ship.
Yeah.
So it definitely does. So I love that whole scene so much.
It's a great scene. But the fact that the fact that the main person that we are paying attention to in the scene on the innocent people ship is a white guy, and the fact that the main person we are paying attention to on the convict ship is a black man is deliberate.
Yeah, I such a good scene.
It's a great scene.
It's like one of those movies that, like, you know it's good, but you don't, like, remember how good it is until, like, you know you haven't seen it in a few years, and then you put it on again.
Christopher Nolan movies, this is a problem I have with them sometimes, where there's so much going on, they can feel a little hard to remember, because there's so many scenes, so many bits, that sometimes you need to, like, go back and re-evaluate and say, like, oh yeah, I forgot about this bit.
Also, the action scenes in The Dark Knight are terrible, but that's not here or there. It's not relevant to this. But anyways, The Dark Knight Rises, I would argue the action scenes in The Dark Knight Rises easily the best in the entire trilogy.
The final fight with Bane I thought was really weak. Because so much of the movie is spent on Batman, like, learning how to be better so he can beat Bane. And then all he does is just, like, punch him the same way he did before.
Best of the series, compared to the fucking Joker fight, where it's just like, oh, I'm caught in a net. You know, in the Dark Knight. Right?
Most versions of the Joker, he is not a physical threat.
I know, which is why that whole scene...
I am A-okay with the Joker not being physically a match for Batman.
But the Joker still overcomes him. That's my point.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because, like, first of all, fucking dogs, and then a net, and then his glasses break, and he's like,
no, you know what was a great fight scene? Was in Begins, when Scarecrow drugs Batman, puts him on fire, and then makes lame jokes at him. Yeah, you need to lighten up.
Yeah. God, I wish those characters were like people of color so we could talk about them, but we can't because they're white.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks, Hollywood.
I like Cillian Murphy though. He's great. So he's so good as the Scarecrow.
The Dark Knight Rises. First things first. Bane, once again played by a white guy. Now, like I said,
doing a very strange choice.
Yes, but I will say this. Okay, so this isn't my, like, I'm not saying where we should put it, but, like, let's compare this to Batman Begins with Bane.
Sure.
Batman Begins, I think...
Bane, comparing him to Ra's al Ghul?
Yeah. Came out right after 9/11, a lot of Islamophobia, and it makes sense to, you know, avoid that by, you know, casting, well, you know, like an Asian, Japanese guy and a white guy as Ra's al Ghul, to imply that, you know, Ra's al Ghul is just the name.
Yep, he's been many men.
Exactly. But Bane, there is, you know, there obviously always is, you know, racism towards like
Latin
Hispanics
people.
and Latin Americans in America.
Yeah, and there was around that time very much the beginnings of what would eventually bubble up a lot greater in 2016, but there was very much this fear of illegal immigrants coming up over.
Yeah.
That's what Machete was about.
Yeah. But I would argue that it's not... I can't excuse it in The Dark Knight Rises because, you know, Bane, the character isn't invoking... Like, I can't see if they made him Hispanic, it would invoke illegal alien...
Yeah, not
illegal
specifically.
immigrants, like, imagery, you know what I mean?
And
Like,
also, in Begins, they had a very good reason to use Ra's al Ghul as a
Yeah.
prominent character because he ties in so well with
Yeah.
Batman's origin.
Yeah.
Bane in Rises, like, I get why they wanted to use Bane because they had already used the Joker, and
Yeah.
Bane is the only real villain left that could potentially pose a bigger threat than the Joker because in the comics he broke Batman's back.
Mm-hmm.
But they could have swapped Bane out in that movie for Black Mask,
Yeah.
or they could have had the Scarecrow be the main villain.
Yeah. Or they could just do Bane, but cast, like, Danny Trejo or somebody. You know
They
what I mean? Like,
absolutely could have done that, but they didn't have to use
Yeah,
Bane
yeah,
at all.
yeah.
They chose to use Bane, and then
But-
they chose to cast a white
see,
guy.
I think the difference is that I feel like you're coming from the stance that Bane is, like, inherently a problematic character.
I don't think he is.
Yeah. So
But-
I think that, like, I don't think Bane himself represents, like...
But-
I will say this before we move on. We
Yeah.
just have to address this. The creators of Bane in the comics are Trump supporters.
Oh,
But...
I didn't know that. That
that might color what we're moving on. But I don't think the character in itself...
depends how you write him,
Yeah.
but I don't think Bane is an inherently racist character. But I do think that if, because of the social climate, you don't want to have a Latin villain,
I understand where you're coming from, yeah.
you can just use a different villain.
That's true, yeah.
And no one would complain if if the villain was Black Mask and they cast Ewan McGregor.
Sorry, how fucking great would it be? Tom Hardy, exactly like in the movie, but he's just Black Mask.
Yeah!
He's super small.
Oh, I killed
wears,
my
wears
parents
like a
and
black mask.
my mask is made from a coffin, Batman.
Oh my
Sure.
God. No, that would be great. Same voice, same
Yeah.
thing, except he's Black Mask.
I would have liked it better. Also, we need to address the fact that Dark Knight Rises has a weirdly conservative attitude about... Because it came out, like, right at the height of, like, Occupy Wall Street, and it portrays... Because, like, okay, Bane's revolutionary rhetoric is in bad faith just to cause shit for shit's sake, but it portrays all the people who are understandably angry, and the whole thing with Catwoman saying, like, a storm is coming, Mr. Wayne, people want their share. We very much get the sense that, like, yes, Gotham is, and has been since Begins, a place of enormous iniquity and inequality, but the people fighting that inequality are portrayed as delusional, angry, dumb rioters who just want to burn shit down, and we have to side with the heroic cops who are holding everything
That's
together.
true. Also, but here's the thing. There are a few moments where it's like, oh, maybe because the whole movie is about, the conflict is about the Dent Act. That after The Dark Knight and Harvey Dent's death, suddenly there was this new act that gave police more power, and that created this, like, utopic version.
Yeah.
But there are some stupid things where it's like, oh, the Dent Act allows women to go to men's prisons, where it's just kind of like, that doesn't...
Why would that be part of it?
That sounds like a stupid thing.
Yeah.
Like, is this commentating against itself? Is it criticizing
Yeah.
the Dent Act? But then at the end, you get the whole imagery of, like, a bunch of cops, like,
Heroic,
heroically...
yeah. And we're going to get to The Batman later,
Yeah.
but I think The Batman deals with a lot of these same themes with the Riddler's very QAnon-esque supporters, but it does it so much better,
Yeah.
and so much smarter, and so much more carefully.
Definitely. So, by the way, I love Tom Hardy's Bane. I love his it makes me laugh so hard, but...
He brings me joy.
He does bring me joy.
I think I like Tom Hardy as an actor.
Yeah.
I think his Bane is terrible, but it brings me so much joy.
Well, that's not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, oh yeah. I like The Room. So, oh my God, Tommy Wiseau was... Oh, hi, Batman. I was raised in darkness. Have you seen the... this is a total segue, but have you seen the short film that Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero did of the interrogation scene from The Dark Knight?
No, I think you mean tangent, but no.
Yeah. Sorry, what word did I say?
Segue. that implies
It is
that this
absolutely a
relevant to the
tangent.
next
It is
movie.
in no way relevant to Lego Batman or regular Lego movie. But yeah, Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau made a short film that is a reenactment of the prison interrogation scene from The Dark Knight. Tommy is the Joker, Greg is Batman, and it is so much fun. I highly recommend it.
I will definitely take a look at that. Wait, who's the Joker?
Tommy Wiseau.
No. See, what you need to do is get Tommy Wiseau as the Batman. Because that's what makes it work. It's that you have Tommy Wiseau playing what's supposed to be like an all-American manly man. That's what makes the room work. You can't have him play.
Have you seen Best Friends?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Best Friends is genuinely good because it casts Tommy Wiseau as a weirdo, and it casts Greg Sestero as a more relatable character.
Right.
And it works, and it's actually a pretty good movie because...
Exactly, that's my point.
Because Tommy plays a weirdo, which is what he's good at.
I would watch The Room more than a good, like a
That's
slightly
true.
good version.
I've only seen Best Friends once, and I've seen The Room many times.
Speaking of movies in general, I'm sorry.
Now that's a segue.
No segue between
right.
The Room and Lego movie. God, I don't know.
The Lego movie... I think we may have been wrong to put it on here at all.
Yeah, Batman's in it. I don't know.
Batman's in it?
I don't remember. Like, are there a lot of... What? The wizard guy's black, right?
It's Morgan Freeman,
Morgan
in fact.
Freeman. Does it... Okay, magic, black man, stereotype. Does that...
Yeah, I mean, the movie is so self-aware with so many of its, like, hero's journey tropes.
Yeah, I think it was more of a parody
You Are the Special.
Yeah.
I could take that as a parody of the sort of roles that he had been cast in, that kind of, like, very non-threatening mentor, magical black man type of roles. I'm not gonna use the terminology that Spike Lee coined, but I think it is valid terminology. I just shouldn't say it.
Let's put it in racially neutral, which is kind of sad because like we had this whole argument about whether or not we should put the Lego movie in here.
I know,
and then we just ring like
neither of us have anything to say
discussion
about it.
Okay, Batman v Superman. Listen.
I will hear you out. Go on.
It's the only movie in which the main theme, or at least, is that you shouldn't be prejudiced towards someone because of, like, you know, who they are, like, from where they come from.
All right.
You know what I mean?
And who is the person that people are being prejudiced against because of where that person comes from?
An alien.
And what color is that alien's skin?
Okay, but listen. If
We're
this doesn't
even
go
casting
there,
white people as the poor, mistrusted minorities.
Listen. I get that. That is a problem. But what else will we put on this tier? None of these actually have an
And I would.
It's more anti-class than it's more like anti.
It is the only Batman movie I've ever seen to explicitly address race in its dialogue, and people were mad.
Let's get to here later, but like. Listen, here's the plot of Batman v Superman.
Also, it was directed by the literal man who made 300, which we have mentioned as...
We're talking about the movie, but listen. Batman v Superman.
Okay.
Plot. Something bad happens in a big city. A lot of people die. Because of that, the white guy is like, oh no, I'm gonna hate, you know, this the aliens, because if there's even a 1% chance that they can kill us, then we have to take it as an absolute certainty, which is literal like
you're saying Batman is
from Fox
Yes,
News.
it is. Yeah. It is. You're saying that Batman is a racist in this movie.
Yes.
So this is a racist Batman movie.
But he learns to not be racist.
And suddenly, Albie wasn't racist
Exactly.
anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, but the person he's being racist against is also white.
But in this world,
it's the X-Men problem where white people get to even be the minority.
Yeah, but still, even like X-Men, even though they're all
they can be coded as minorities, they can be coded as gay, but they're all still straight and white.
That's true. But
or blue.
They're not all straight. But
if they're not, we don't talk about it in the movie though. Eric and Charles never kiss.
Still, even if yes, it is problematic that Stanley and Jack Kirby made the X-Men all white, but you can't deny that there's anti-racism message. Was Storm even created by Stanley? Anyways,
no.
You can't
Chris
deny
Claremont.
that like they created it in the civil rights as like a to send an anti-racist.
I would call it at best makes an effort though.
But it's the only one it's the theme of the movie. Also, by the way, Danny has not seen the movie, so my opinion like outweighs his.
That is undeniably true, but
but he's just going off of like.
I just
what
want my
videos.
I haven't watched any YouTube videos about this movie.
Okay.
I
Well,
just
he's just going off nothing.
I just want my disapproval to be on record.
Look, you don't have to like the movie, but I'm telling you, the main theme of Batman v Superman is anti-racist.
Yeah, but there are no people of color in the principal cast.
Perry White. He's actually a really major character.
Is he? Okay. It's Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah. He's
okay.
also like.
All right.
Like, by the way, a complete tangent. Perry White in this movie is so funny. He's like J. Jonah Jameson, but instead of being shouty and angry, he's just kind of very like snarky and sarcastic. Like, listen,
I liked Frank Langella in that role in the otherwise garbage Superman Returns.
Like, there's this one scene where it's like where he's just like, "Hey Clark, we need you to cover the people doing this fundraiser asked you to cover it. I bet it's just some old crone who has a thing for nerds." And Clark's just like, "What? I didn't say anything. Why are you like just insulting me for no reason?" Clark's just standing there like, "What? What the fuck was?"
Okay.
Anyways, I just want to bring that up because that's so funny. Oh, also, there also are many black characters in the movie. The whole opening scene, well, the third scene, I think, is set in Africa, which I think is the only one of the Batman movies, I think, unless I'm forgetting something.
Only one I can think of. What's their portrayal of Africa like? And where in Africa are we?
Well, it's a fictional one. But yes, it is sort of like, it's like a civil war, so it is kind of like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's still like, I can't think of, like, I do definitely think it has at least the four...
Is it white saviory in its depiction of this war-torn African
Not
nation?
Not even slightly. You know why? Because Superman comes in, and I know, like, I made this whole thing about how he's like a metaphor for, like, non-white people, but whatever, he's white. He comes in.
He sure is.
He doesn't save anyone other than his thing. So Superman in this movie is a very flawed character. He's not like, oh, I'm the savior coming in to save you, black people. No, he is like a very human.
He only saves white people. He's a racist Superman. No.
Well, I mean, I think he also saves. Okay, I'm trying to think. He also saves people in Mexico. Oh, also, you know who's in this movie? Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
Whatever your opinion on him.
Yeah, he's a creep.
He is a person of color.
He plays himself, right? Like he's like being interviewed in something.
Yeah. So I feel like all the points go for this into actively anti-racist.
Another reason I wanted Birds of Prey to be on here is so that we'd have more things to put in the green, because I think Birds of Prey is actively anti-racist.
Maybe, okay, let's do all this first, and then we can go back and maybe...
All right, let's talk about Suicide Squad. Let's talk about you and me.
Probably, okay.
It does have Adewale Akintoye Agbaji in it, and I like him.
It does have a lot
but
of
I believe,
color. It's a very diverse
and
cast.
most of them get killed off really early in the...
But, I mean...
They kill Adam Beach, like, in the first 10 minutes or something.
But,
How dare they?
Listen, the racial politics of Suicide Squad are actually, kind of like it. I like that there's, like, a black woman in power.
Yeah, who do they cast as Waller?
Viola Davis.
That is good casting.
Easily the best performance in the movie.
I guess Will Smith is one of the heroes, so...
He plays Will Smith. I do like... Listen, this goes back to what I said about systemic racism versus individual racism.
Yeah.
By casting Will Smith as, the main character as Deadshot, it opened the door for other black actors to play Deadshot. So, for example, in the upcoming Suicide Squad video game, Deadshot is black, and I'm assuming voiced by...
Was he not in the comics?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and in the Harley Quinn, I haven't finished season 3 of Harley Quinn, but Deadshot's in there. He's black. So that's what I mean. So by like every time you when you do these sort of when you cast like a person of color in the role of character who's traditionally white, yes, maybe if you're someone who likes things to be like the way that you grew up with them, you might be upset. But it does, contribute to overcoming these sort of systemic
and it meant that we got Idris Elba as guy who is totally not Deadshot.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know that, Will Smith, it doesn't need the help, but it does open the door for other black actors.
That said, is Suicide Squad a good movie?
No.
Okay.
It's fucking awful.
It's quality. We just got to get that out of the way. It's quality, otherwise notwithstanding. Yeah. Where would you put it on here? I have not seen the film.
Like the thematically. Well, let's see. Thematically,
Because you could also say it's
Because
a
you
movie
could
that's
also-
kind of an endorsement of like the prison industrial complex because it's about
But it's about-
criminals being made to work.
Oh, Jesus Christ, you're right. But no, it's also an indictment of it because the problem that they solved was created by Amanda Waller.
Oh,
And
okay.
then Amanda Waller uses them to solve it.
Oh.
And killing many of them in the process. So it is very much like,
Oh.
it's not like, oh, you have to enslave prisoners in
Yeah,
order to
and I
save
guess the
world.
prisoners are like the sympathetic. They are the protagonists,
Yeah.
right?
You know,
So,
maybe, and it is...
oh no, are we endorsing Suicide Squad?
Well, listen, a movie can be bad and also have, like,
That's
a
true.
message that's like...
That's
you
true.
know,
Plan 9 from
you
Outer
agree
Space
with.
has that.
Are we going to put in an actively anti-racist?
I have not seen it. That is your call.
Wait, okay, so Danny just, like, is forcing me to ponder...
Yeah,
Oh,
you will
God.
get the hate for this.
Jesus.
This is all on you. We could be
But-
safe and just call it makes an effort.
I mean...
We could call it makes an effort because they kill
Okay.
Adam Beach too soon in the movie.
Yeah, let's feel it makes an effort, yeah. I don't like... Because isn't Adam Beach is, like, Native American, right? Like,
Native Canadian.
Native Canadian, yeah. Or Indigenous Canadian. But, like... Yeah, it was kind of shitty how, like, he didn't get anything. He didn't even get, like, a title card. He just...
Yeah. And
Which is kind of stupid because, like, don't you want it to be a surprise who dies?
yeah. And because, like, there have been... And I don't mean in any way to diminish the importance of casting more black actors in superhero roles. But there have been plenty of black actors in superhero roles already. There could be more. There should be more. But I cannot think of... There are very few roles for native actors in anything at all other than cowboy movies where they get shot. The only other superhero movie I can think of with a prominent native character was Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And I really like that character. I wish
Yeah.
he should get his own movie where he finally gets to grow 20 feet tall and beat people up.
Oh my god. Sorry, is that supposed to be the same person?
I always assumed so. They just call him Chief in that movie, so I think he's supposed to be the very unfortunately named Apache Chief from Super Friends.
Yeah. Although I do kind of don't like that they called him Chief in that movie, to be honest.
I guess,
Like, it reminds
but-
me, it was so funny because 2017 I watched Wonder Woman. It was like, oh, this Chief, and he's kind of like, I'm going to use smoke signals.
Yeah, he's
And
a
then-
classic
and then-
mystical native dude.
And then you know what I watched after that? Transformers: Transformers: The Last Night. Native character in there. Someone calls him Chief, and he's like, "Oh, don't call me Chief. My name's Brian." Like,
Oh no, did
and
the
it's just
Michael
like-
Bay movie get
I
it
know
right?
Michael Bay
Was the
movie.
Michael Bay movie
had a
more racially sensitive?
Yeah, had a more racially
Oh,
sensitive
no.
like native character than Wonder Woman.
All right. Well, in
Anyways.
this case, they wanted. I think they were deliberately trying to say this guy is our version of the old Apache
Yeah,
Chief character,
yeah.
except we're not going to use the word Apache because that's not what they want to be called. They're called Dene.
Yeah.
But I like it when they're able to rehabilitate cringy old characters like
Yeah.
that. However, the fact that and we're not ranking Wonder Woman on here, so this is a tangent, but the fact that we knew this guy is never going to appear again. They've
Yeah.
told us he's important, but there's no way that he's
That's-
getting his own movie. He's not going to be back in the sequel.
Yeah.
He's not even going to be because, like, you know, obviously this character was never as important. He was a member of the Super Friends. It's not a disgrace to the character that they're not giving him more to do, but, like, they introduce him and then they basically tell us, like, you'll never see him again.
Correct. I'm assuming.
All right.
So
we
I
have
feel-
Justice League on here twice, you may have noticed, because there are two different versions of
Right.
Justice League.
So,
Let's
Justice League
get to the Whedon cut.
2017. So, by the way, listen, just the full disclosure, I'm not some sort of like I know I put, Batman v Superman and Acme Anti-Racist. I'm not some sort of Zack Snyder nut. I don't like. I think the Snyder cut was like slightly better than the Joss Whedon one, but it's not like the greatest thing ever. But I will say that from what I've heard backstage, from like the behind
The whole
scenes,
Ray Fisher drama.
yeah, Ray Fisher drama. I'm not gonna assume that my opinion on Joss Whedon's racial beliefs is more valid than like a black man who worked with him.
Yeah.
You know.
Honestly, Joss Whedon's racial attitudes have always skeeved me out a little bit. Just the the whole like China fetishism thing going on in Firefly, even though there were no Asian people on the whole show.
Yeah.
There were two characters who were supposed to be Asian. One of them is a doctor who plays the violin, and the other is a girl who's good at martial arts and is very fetishistically treated and can't speak. But then they decided, no, let's cast white people instead. Yeah. And I don't know if that made it better or worse, but the fact that no one's Asian on a show where everyone is constantly peppering their speech with Chinese words, and they have a big, what do you call the big, like, circular symbol that they have on the side of the ship? Much as in a lot of 80s sci-fi, like Blade Runner, we get the sense that, like, Japan has become a major cultural force in this future. In Firefly, we get the sense that China has, but no Chinese people ever show up. And there's also one episode where a scary black guy shows up and threatens to rape one of the white women.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's there.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been a fan of Joss Whedon, not just, like, I never really picked up on any racial politics, but, like, I just don't like how his brand of comedy, I don't like how
I don't like that either.
He always has to add a joke after every serious moment. Like, if you're going to do jokes, do it before the serious moment, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so the serious moment can then hang heavier.
Like, that's what makes we're going to Marvel now, but that's what makes, like, the Russo's Avengers movies, like, 100 times better than the Joss Whedon Avengers movies, because they do the jokes and end on a serious note. That's how you do it to make something impactful. You don't like deflate your serious moment with jokes like what Joss Whedon does.
It's the scene in Romeo and Juliet when they're all having some laughs, like, "Oh, Mercutio, you're just playing around." And he's like, "No, I'm literally dying." And they're all like, exactly. "Oh, you're such a card," and then he dies.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so anyways, back to Justice League.
Justice League.
So here, knowing what we know now about how he cut out Iris West, who was black. A whole bunch of Ray Fisher scenes that would later go into the Zack Snyder ones. I think we have to put this into somewhat racist.
One thing I will give this movie, and I guess Batman v Superman already kind of set this up, so maybe should get the credit for this, but the casting of Jason Momoa as Aquaman is brilliant.
Yeah, I literally was about to say, maybe we should give a point for that. But you correctly said that happened in Batman v Superman. So yes.
I don't think he gets much to, like, he appears very
cameo,
briefly.
But the casting was done by Zack Snyder and his crew.
And I feel like over the past couple years, Polynesian actors in general have been getting so much more exposure than they did before. And Jason Momoa is at the forefront of this, and the fact that I was about to mention Book of Boba Fett, whose star literally plays Jason Momoa's dad in Aquaman, Temuera Morrison.
Right, yeah.
And, the fact that we've got, like, Moana, which has Temuera Morrison in it as well. And the whole cast of that movie are Polynesian. And I think this is super cool that they're getting more roles, more recognition, more sex symbols in Jason Momoa's case.
Oh, wait. Dwayne The Rock is Polynesian too, right?
He is part Samoan, yes.
Okay. Because he's Black Adam, which means DC has two Polynesian starring...
Yes, I suppose it does.
It's interesting. Okay. Anyways. Yeah,
and, of course, Taika Waititi, who's everywhere now.
Yeah. Who also was in Green Lantern.
Oh, yeah.
2011, playing the character Pie Face. Well, he was never called Pie Face, but, in the original comics...
He was supposed to be Inuit originally, right?
Yeah. So that was, like Eskimo Pie. That's where that comes from.
Oh, God.
But, obviously they haven't called him that. Yeah. Except in the comics, in, like, the 2005 comics, a bully calls him that, and Hal's like, hey, don't call him that. But in the original, 60s, Hal was the one calling him.
This is what I mean when I say I love it when they're able, if you can, to kind of revitalize and rehabilitate a previously awful character.
Exactly, yeah.
If you can do it, great.
Mm-hmm. I love how we just go off on all these tangents.
Well, that's the fun of it.
Yeah, I like this. I like talking with you, Dan.
Thank you.
Anyways, okay, so Lego Batman. I like talking
with you too. I think Lego Batman deserves to be on the actively anti-racist rank for the simple fact that they got Billy D. Williams back as Two-Face.
undoing all the racism from Joel Schumacher.
And you know who they cast as Catwoman? You know who does the voice of Catwoman?
What's his the person who? What's her name again? Jesus.
I'm also drawing a blank.
Okay.
Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz, right? Who later actually played
live action.
But you know what else? Okay, what other things that Lego Batman does?
Now, Catwoman, she's at least the third black woman to play Catwoman.
Yeah.
But it's cool that we're getting more of this.
Yeah. Also, Lego Batman. Even though, once again, R.I.P. Batgirl, that movie, Leslie Grace.
Oh, Rosario Dawson was Batgirl.
Yeah. Person of color playing Batgirl, and
That's cool.
Jim Gordon. Yeah. So
who was Jim Gordon in
I don't remember.
Lego Batman?
He did have. He was a Lego with brown, darker brown
cool.
skin. Cool. So I'm gonna put this in makes an effort.
Yeah, and now it's oh god, he plays Felix in the Bond movies. The guy who is now Jim Gordon.
Jesus. I know who you're talking about.
He was in one of the Hunger Games movies. Oh, that one guy there. He's a good actor. I'm just drawing a blank on his name.
Yeah. Okay. Teen Titans Go to the movies.
Now I didn't see this one, so you're gonna have to.
Yes. Amazing fucking movie. You guys, please see this movie. Cyborg is in it. He's black. He played by Carrie Payton. I'm just trying to think what anything even remotely related to race or racial politics in this.
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
What I always like to think about is the characters who are not in colors that human beings normally come in, like Starfire and Beast Boy and Raven. Are those their names?
Yep.
How do they read in terms of racial coding to you? Do they come across as white people who just happen to be pink and green, or do they...
So I'll say this. Starfire is an alien. She can be played by any race.
Yeah.
Back when they casted like a black woman to play her in Titans, everyone was angry for some reason, and it's like she's never been white. You literally just don't like people of color.
She's like a very vivid pink.
Yeah, like she's...
Or sometimes orange.
She can be any race.
Yeah.
She's never even been coded like white or anything. And if anything, I don't know, because in Teen Titans Go, or Teen Titans, the original cartoon, to kind of make her like an immigrant, you know? So she's learning English and stuff. So like, I don't know, I like when I was a kid, just because of the like anime influences, I always kind of read her as like Asian.
Okay.
But, I don't know if that's accurate or intent. Like she's voiced by a white woman, but like I don't know if that like that's just how I like little kid me read her. I'm Asian too. Maybe I was like seeing part of myself in her. Wow, I love Starfire. Anyways, I'm just realizing that Beast Boy definitely white. I think because he used to be human colored. And in the comics,
and what color is that?
No, because you see in the comics like he and he's voiced by a white guy.
Yeah, so he was
there's
just
nothing.
a white guy who got some powers and turned green.
Yeah.
Okay.
Raven's a bit harder.
Is she an alien too?
She's the daughter of a demon.
Oh, he's a demon. Okay. For some reason, I thought that is Slade. Is that his name?
Slade is not related to Raven.
Oh, who's her father? What's his name?
Trigon, a giant red guy.
Okay. For some reason, I thought he was one of the same race as Darkseid and them. I thought he was one of the new gods?
No, Trigon's an old god. Trigon... Yeah. Well, what is Trigon based? Well, I don't... Okay, here's the thing. I can't assign a race to Raven.
She's purple.
Or Starfire. Well, Raven's not purple. Her skin's like gray, but she wears purple.
It's kind of a purpley gray.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be here like assigning races to Starfire and Raven. Which is to say racially neutral. Let's just put it here.
Okay.
But also, but just to extend the conversation a little, did you see the Teen Titans show while growing up?
No.
No. Okay.
No, we didn't have cable.
Okay, because there is an episode of Teen Titans that is actively anti-racist.
Cool.
Where I'll just explain it right now, just because I love that show so much, and it's a Starfire episode, and I am in love with Starfire. My fiance has red hair too. Maybe that's where. Maybe that's.
Do you have like elaborate lucid dreams where you have a whole other life where you're married to Starfire?
Well, no. Listen, Lucia.
If you watch my channel, you'll get that.
Listen, Lucia. If you're hearing this, no, I have never imagined being married to anyone other than you. Anyways, so Starfire, where there's like this other alien comes in. And I'm gonna show it to you sometime. Yeah. Another alien. He's like blue. He's like this big blue tough guy. Once again, not assigning any race to him. And he's like, oh god, I can't believe. And they go and fight the world and fight bad aliens. Bad aliens. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, oh wow, we're working so well. And then he's like, he's comfortable with all the members of the Teen Titans, but he's always cold to Starfire. And at some point, he calls her a troc, like a trockie. And then
It's like an alien slur?
yeah, it's an alien slur because apparently his race and Starfire's race don't get along.
Oh.
And then later, like, she's like very sad. And then Cyborg comes up and he's like, hey, Trocky, because he doesn't know it's a slur. And then Starfire gets mad at him. And then Starfire explains what's going on. And then Cyborg's just like, oh, you mean like... And Starfire's like, oh, you don't know what it's like.
The
and
fact that
Cyborg
is deliberate.
yeah, and Cyborg's like, oh, I know what it's like, because it's like you want to punch him, but you can't do that because that'll like prove him right, and so you just have to kind of take it and all that stuff. And it's just like, and Starfire's like, what? You understand what it's like to be like judged based on how you look? And Cyborg's like, of course I do. I'm part robot. And it's just the most like, not like that. Like he said that in a way where it's obvious that it's like, oh, he's actually talking about being black. But he doesn't want to, make Starfire have to deal with that.
And I like the idea that she is just, like, completely unaware of all of these subtle elements of humanity.
Exactly.
She hasn't been here that long.
Anyways, I just bring that up because that's my favorite episode of the old Teen Titans show. And by the way...
I like that. That sounds
good.
And
by the way, listen, I know that, like, most fans of the old Teen Titans show hate Teen Titans Go... But I think it's fine. It's really funny. If you watch some of the episodes, like, once in a while...
I think people were just really mad that the animation style was...
Yeah.
Because it's an animation style we've seen a lot of lately, and that's not a bad thing, but there's some people who really want you to know how sick of it they are.
Yeah, but...
The Cal Art style.
Yeah. But, like, once... I don't know. I got over that, and I just thought that, the jokes... They did this whole episode where it's, like, Robin's making them, like, buy rental properties, and they're just explaining in depth how the rental economy works, and that's the episode. Anyways, it's that kind of humor, it's that kind of humor where it's like...
I can dig that.
Yeah. Anyways, so, Teen Titans, the original show would easily go into actively anti-racist. The movie, Teen Titans Go to the Movies, racially neutral, doesn't really touch on that, which is fine, because
it's not what it's
really,
about.
Yeah, no, it's not. So, Joker.
What do you think? Neutral?
Yeah, let's do neutral. Okay.
All right. The Snyder Cut.
Zack Snyder's cut. So... we already talked about Justice League here, whatever you want to call it. I think if it wasn't for me being aware of, what was in Zack Snyder, the original, what was filmed, with Iris West and...
Now, I do get why Whedon and whoever else was involved in the decision-making, why they knew they needed to cut a lot of material. Because how long is the Snyder Cut?
Here's the thing.
It's like a day long.
Yeah, but it's
like Stalker.
Like, it's a director's cut. Like, no one... Like, it's the whole point of a director's cut is to put in all the stuff that wasn't in the theatrical version.
But that means you can't get mad at the theatrical version for cutting that stuff.
Yeah, but the things that they cut wasn't just, like, Iris, like, the side characters. Also, Ray Fisher's entire... story arc, which is in the Snyder Cut, is just completely removed.
Okay. And I have not seen the film, and by all means, like, I think that they had to make a lot of cuts. However, if those cuts seem to disproportionately target the black character's character arc, then I do not want to sound for a second like I am defending or minimizing that.
Exactly, yeah.
And I have not seen the film, so I couldn't say whether it does that.
I'm trying to think if...
It definitely has to be higher than the Whedon cut simply for the fact that it gives him more to do, I guess. Unless there's something really bad it throws in.
I'm trying to remember if Cyborg faces racism in...
It's like something with his, like, abusive dad or something.
Yeah, but that's not, like... that's not, like, racial politics. You know what I mean?
Not overtly.
Also, his dad's, like a scientist. That's kind of like...
He's not a drunken
subverting
deadbeat.
stereotype.
Yeah, okay. Because it's his dad who made him into...
Yeah.
He's like Geppetto.
Yeah.
I make my son, he's a robot son. You'll be a real boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to makes an effort. I don't know if I want to put into actively anti-racist, because I don't think that's, like, the point of the movie.
I would put the Batman as actively anti-racist.
Yeah, I would too. Just because it's the only one that
the word white privilege is used.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Batman. So...
And we gotta talk about the, what's her name? Bella Real? The politician lady?
Yeah.
Who is presented as, like, this, like, intelligent young black woman who is a figure for really positive change and is great.
Yeah.
She's someone that, like, we really are built up to think, like, yes, this woman should be in charge of things. and
But
we
it's
might
like-
get some positive change out of that.
Yeah, and it's funny because like Riddler claims that he wants to fight the corruption and like make a positive change.
Yeah.
But in the end, he for some reason his people just shoot the black woman actually trying to within the system actually fix the system.
Yeah, because
it's not really about trying to make an active change. It's just about making himself feel
the same as how I compared them to QAnon earlier, and they'll say like, oh, we're anti-elite, we want to stop the rich people from abusing their power, we want to save the children. But no, they love the elites. They think that money should be power. They love openly corrupt businessmen. They don't give a shit about the well-being of children, and it's that kind of like self-justifying rhetoric that the Riddler runs on. And I think what Dark Knight Rises was trying to do was suggest that Bane doesn't really believe what he's saying. He's just trying to start some shit. But they really don't make it clear in a way that I think the Batman is much better at.
That's true. Yeah, comparing it to Dark Knight Rises, you're right. Without that like Bella Real character, where it's just like someone who's also trying to make a change, but like in contrast to like Bane, in contrast to the villain.
Yeah, Riddler.
Yeah, or Riddler or Bane or whatever. Yeah, you're right. So like I definitely agree that that's the strength that the Batman 2022 has on the Dark Knight Rises.
And I also really like how it's the first, and this was kind of inevitable from when it came out, is he kind of just had to address this, but it kind of portrays the police, and Jim Gordon is doing his best to mitigate this, and there are some good cops in the movie, but we have a very suspicious attitude of the police. Batman doesn't trust them, Catwoman doesn't trust them, even though sometimes they are helpful. There's always a sense that like we can't trust them that far, even if our goals do align in the moment. And also, I want to briefly address the theme in the arc of the Spanish language.
Right.
With the whole thing about Rata Alada.
I love that riddle.
And
it's like that fucking, like, from the series of unfortunate events, the whole, like, finding out what's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
And that Batman, being a rich, sheltered white guy, doesn't speak it. And the Riddler assumed that Batman, like him, came from a working-class background and would speak at least know a smattering of Spanish.
Yeah.
The way the movie addresses that, like, the Spanish language has become a very working class thing in America, and that's weird. And the Latin cop who like figures out that like, oh yeah, my dad cleaned carpets, this is a carpet cleaning tool. All these details of the mystery that Batman cannot solve and needs the help of other people with other perspectives to solve.
You're right.
And it's the only one I've seen at least, where Batman's perspective is genuinely challenged, and he ends the movie realizing, I need to grow and change my methods.
Yes. And we'll see if he actually changes his methods.
It would be so disappointing if he was just like, I'm really angry.
Like, listen,
now.
I really want the Batman 2 to have him be like, just like, I'm not going to be super mopey and depressing.
I'm going to be a friendly Batman.
Yeah, like, I want that.
More like Adam West. More like Adam West.
God, I hate that. Like, we keep getting dark. Okay.
Yeah, let Batman have fun.
Yeah,
let Batman wave to people.
So, okay. So, I just want to say, I know we are like, we're saying a lot of great things about this movie. And yes, I liked it.
It's great. I think it's really good.
Yeah. It's not my favorite just because of like problems. Like, once again, this is not like quality. We're not talking about quality. I do think that it's too long. I think it's pretty long. I did not. But also, it's like, and it wasn't like.
I think it earns how long it is better than the Nolan movies do, though, because there's nothing I can think of that I can point to and be like, you could have cut that.
I wouldn't say so, because like when I watched like The Dark Knight Rises, which is almost as long as the Batman, like I never felt bored. Like, because when I saw the Batman twice in theaters, the second time I was like shifting my seat. There were just like a lot of things. Like there were some scenes, like
if I watched it a second time, I would cool on it. That's what happened to me with Hereditary. The first time I saw that movie, I was like, and the second time I was like,
But I'll also say this. Yes, it's true that there's that, Catwoman has a line about white privilege. I didn't feel like... I felt like that was... Because it didn't really... It just felt like they were name dropping it. You know what I mean? I know that there. It's like in the subtext of there's a lot of like you see like there is the racial subtext like we discussed in detail like a second ago, but it just felt like it wasn't. It didn't need to move beyond that subtext, or if it did, it needed a lot more discussion than just these white privileged assholes, which is kind of weird because like. I don't think that they were privileged, because like are we really gonna say like the Penguin is privileged because he is white?
Yeah, the Penguin is pretty working class in that movie.
Yeah. So it's like that doesn't really read to me, but yeah. So but definitely in terms of like the message, definitely the Batman would be an actively anti-racist.
Yeah, it's not a perfect film. It is. One of my favorite Batman movies, nonetheless.
Yeah.
My very favorites are probably that, Phantasm, Sub-Zero, and 1966.
Right. Okay. So cool. So we've ranked all these movies. Do we want to? I don't know if we want to go back and like reassess them because I feel like that'd be tiring. But do we want to just quickly go over and talk about what our feelings are about the movies themselves?
Sure.
The quality, because like I don't feel like
all right. Let's start with the worst one.
Okay. Okay, like I said, definitely the most racist.
Like has an explicitly racist goal, and that's like the moral of the story that we should be scared of the Japanese. We should intern them.
Yeah, but listen, even though he's a white guy playing like a Japanese caricature. Clearly setting trying to send an anti-Japanese message. He's really entertaining, like Dr. Daka.
Okay.
If you haven't, if you haven't seen those old serials,
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've seen a few where this is problematic as hell, but I can't deny that I'm not bored.
Yeah, exactly. Batman Forever. I think outside of
I don't like it, but
I think it's worse than Batman and Robin.
I haven't seen Batman and Robin. I didn't hate Batman Forever, but overall, it's just, I get they were going for a campy tone like the 60s one, but the colors were just, garish, and it was always, loud and in your face, and it didn't have the sense of deadpan that made the 60s one work.
Yeah.
It was trying too hard to be campy, for my taste.
Because, I think that's the difference between Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, is that Batman Forever is really in your face with how bad it is. Jim Carrey's literally thrusting his crotch at you.
He's trying so hard to be Frank Gorshin.
Yeah. But Batman and Robin, it's just Uma Thurman.
Curses!
Uma Thurman and Arnold Schwarzenegger, they're just saying their lines in funny ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just saying hilarious,
they're having
fun.
fun.
You know what I mean? My favorite, God, the lines always winterize your pipes.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. No, it didn't.
It's not
millions of years.
Yeah. Also, it's not as uncomfortably sexual as Jim Carrey is.
Oh, that's fair.
There's just I don't know. I like. It's just
Although Poison Ivy's whole mind control kiss thing.
Yeah, but it's not.
It comes across as oddly chaste though, because they're bidding on the auction and that's silly.
I think this is the perfect way to talk about the difference between these two. Batman and Robin seduces you with its badness.
Okay.
Batman Forever assaults you with its badness.
Yeah, thrusting its crotch in your face.
Jim Carrey thrusts you.
Yeah.
Poison Ivy, Uma Thurman invites you to come and make out without his
also,
poison.
If I had to make out with
lips.
Uma Thurman or Jim Carrey and I got my choice, that's not a fair question.
Yeah. Also, Jim Carrey's an anti-vaxxer. Moving on.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
The Dark Knight. Listen, I feel like everyone my age, not just men, women too, all the girls I know too, at some point, my age, we were obsessed with this movie. At some point in grade, whatever, high school.
Yeah.
All we ever thought about. They showed this to us in high school.
I was a little too cool. Yeah. I was like, I think it's pretty good, but it's...
Well, yeah, but you're not my age.
No, that's true.
Danny's not my age. So
I'm older than you.
Yeah, so I think if I went,
there was most of the people I knew were who were my age were this is the best movie ever.
Yeah.
This was just me being contrary.
Yeah, But it is still a really good movie.
It is very good.
Like, even though, people say it's overrated and all that stuff.
Probably.
But yes, it got a lot of hype, but that doesn't affect how good the movie is.
Yeah.
It is still a very good... Like, it has some problems. My main problem with it is, like, the action scenes. But do you have anything...
It's too long.
Yeah, maybe.
Needed more Cillian Murphy.
Yeah. Okay. The Dark Knight Rises...
It really needed more Cillian Murphy, because he's the only good thing in that movie.
Well, here's the thing. I will say this. Once again, this was one of the... I was younger than Danny when I saw this, so obviously I was, like, more
You still are younger than me.
Yeah, but I mean, when I saw this, we were... it's not like I waited until I was your age that you saw this to see this movie for the first time. But I saw this opening night, midnight screening. I found out about the Aurora, Colorado shooting, like, when I got home. So I did not have that to taint my first watch of this movie. Easily the best, like, movie-going experience of my life. People were cheering, laughing at every joke. It was, like, the most, like... God, we were waiting so long for this. And, it wasn't as good as the previous two. It has, like, a lot of problems. But I think, like, its main thing is the fucking Bane versus Batman fight scene. You don't get that in Begins or The Dark Knight, because it's always edited really poorly,
Yeah,
like,
it's very... It's that very, like, choppy... disorienting camera fight style that I think it was Gladiator that popularized that, and so many movies were just doing too much of that for a while.
Yeah.
People give the Hunger Games a lot of shit for that, but this started well before the Hunger Games, and I think people just wanted a reason to hate on a thing that was popular with teenage girls.
Yeah. But, so definitely just that whole fight scene in the middle with no music definitely sticks in my head forever. Justice League...
I still don't like Dark Knight Rises.
That's fine.
There's good things in it. It's not total garbage, but overall I think it is a poor film.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Danny. If you watch a movie and you don't like it, I don't care if I like it and you don't like it. My problem is when you don't see a movie, but you, like, come up with all these assumptions.
That is a bad a bad habit I have.
Yeah.
So I won't say a word about Justice League.
Okay. Justice League... The first time I saw it, it was... I don't know. It was okay. It was a movie. But obviously you go back and you definitely notice, like, the bad, like, reshoots and all that stuff. But what I will say, you know what? I'm going to talk about this and Zack Snyder's, like, together.
That's
so let's just move on. Batman and Robin, I don't want to talk about at all. It's just
nothing to say. Really boring.
It's just really boring. Batman Returns.
It is a very messy, strange movie that doesn't really work, but I have to respect what it's going for. I have to respect how balls out weird it is. And Tim Burton clearly loves weird old silent German expressionist movies. That's why he named a character Max Schreck. That's why he made the Penguin look like Dr. Caligari. I love these movies too. I love when the Penguin's running for mayor, he has those campaign posters that look like the posters for old 20s movies. I can't front. I love that shit.
Yeah.
It's a movie with problems, but there's a lot of charm to it in spite of those problems.
And
also, Batman shows up in like 2 scenes.
Yeah, but
almost no Batman in that movie.
That's fine. It's like no one watches Batman movies for Batman.
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, he's just kind of like the boring, like, guy who comes in. You watch it for the villains, and I think Batman Returns has, like, the best villain performances. Like Michelle Pfeiffer and
up there.
Danny DeVito.
I really like Paul Dano as the Riddler.
Yeah, I do like Paul Dano too.
Also, if we're talking about best villain performances, we're coming up on one of the all-time best Batman villain performances.
Sorry, are you talking about
Mask of the Phantasm
or Mark Hamill's Joker?
Mark Hamill is the Joker, although the Phantasm is a great villain. I like the Phantasm, and they should never make another Phantasm story ever again.
Right.
The Phantasm works in this one movie amazingly well, and nowhere else. Here's
what I will say. I feel like with the animated series, and you feel free to disagree, I feel like every time I watch it and, like, I haven't seen every episode, but from what I've seen, and also including Batman Beyond and all that stuff, I think
Beyond was good.
Yeah, what it really gets is that Batman is a character that Batman is a character that little kids think is really cool.
Yeah.
So, for example, the whole scene in Batman Beyond, there's this whole scene where it's like someone's trying to like pretend to be mind control Bruce, and he's trying to pretend like the voice in Bruce's head. And he's like, "Hey Bruce, go open the door," or something like that for the I don't remember the details. And then Bruce knows that it's not his actual inner monologue, because he's like, "I don't call myself Bruce in my head." It's like, oh, he calls himself Batman in his head. As a kid,
that's cool.
You watch that, that's cool. But if you're an adult and you watch that,
he's weird.
He's a grown-ass man, an old man who calls himself Batman in his head.
Yeah, that is weird.
That is fucking weird.
And I like that too. I like the realization that Batman can be both of these things. He can be really cool, and he can be a strange, lonely man.
Yeah.
And I love how Beyond treats old man Bruce. The way he's... the show, he's not the main character of the show. Mm-hmm. It is not about him, but he can still be so cool.
Yes.
When the moment calls for it. Mask of the Phantasm, though, it's basically the old Robert Mitchum movie Out of the Past, but with Batman in it. And that is awesome. Cool. And I think Mask of the Phantasm is great, and it's underrated.
Listen, every time Danny mentions like a old movie that I should have seen because there's like a classic, you're just gonna hear me go cool. Well, because I don't have any.
This is why I said the old Robert Mitchum movie Out of the Past, and not simply Out of the Past, assuming you should know it. Right. It's this cool old film noir thing. It's good. I recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Lego Movie. I thought Lego Movie was cool.
It's really good.
I don't like that Chris Pratt is now everywhere.
Yeah, I am sick of that guy.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's starting to disavow active, because people were assuming for the longest time that he was some kind of hard right evangelical Christian, and he's starting to finally publicly say, "No, I'm not."
Yeah.
So that's good, I guess.
I feel like when you're an actor, and maybe I'm biased because we both do theater.
Yes.
But I feel like when you're an actor, it kind of forces you to interact and see things from a lot of different point of view. I think it's hard. I think that's why it's the far right hates Hollywood, because Hollywood sends liberal messages.
But then whenever there's a relatively well-known actor who says I'm conservative, the far right are like, hooray, we have the best stars. We have Tim Allen.
Yeah. See, we talk about this as if we're American, but no, we're Canadian, so we don't really have skin in the game. But okay.
Well, we live in the same continent.
Yeah.
As Pierre Trudeau said, living next to America is like sharing a bed with an elephant.
Yeah.
You feel every movement.
Mm-hmm. Teen Titans Go to Movies. You haven't seen it.
I have not.
It's fucking great.
I should, apparently.
Everyone should watch it. It's super entertaining, really funny. Makes fun of superhero movies. Will Arnett plays Slade. It's hilarious. I love it. Amazing songs, amazing music in this.
Will Arnett. How many of these movies is? At least 3 of these movies have Will Arnett.
They cast him because he voiced Batman.
That's the joke.
Deathstroke is Batman but evil.
Yeah.
Joker's fine.
Sorry.
Batman 66. Oh
masterpice.
My God, masterpiece.
Fucking masterpiece.
Penguin's Planet. I think this is my
Some
favorite.
days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
I knew that line going in. I did not know that was only the beginning of the madness.
Penguins plan to get into the Batcave?
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to go through it, but it's...
Oh my God, it's so good.
The leaps in logic.
And just the fact that the way Batman and Robin figure out who the bad guys are, that shark was pulling my leg. It must have been the Joker.
My God.
But it happened at C. C is the first letter of Catwoman. Oh, it all adds up to a terrible riddle. Riddler!
Oh, God, the porpoise that saves their lives by jumping in front of a missile.
Never forget.
Yeah. So, okay, this are S tier. Definitely S tier.
Masterpiece. Masterpiece. It's a solid 3 out of 5.
I didn't... Listen, my problem with this is all just, the Joker I felt was done... Because, he wasn't even,
It was just... It felt like Jack Nicholson doing a parody of Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
I do appreciate...
It wasn't compelling, I don't think.
I do appreciate the very... if Batman Returns is more German expressionism, I do very much appreciate the, old school 19th century Gothic attitude that Burton brings to this Batman movie. It feels very Wuthering Heights, mixed with a kind of 1940s deco, almost fascist architecture at times, some of the set designs. The scene when the Joker... This is a great scene, when the Joker, wakes up after falling into the vat, and he's like, give me the mirror.
Yeah.
That scene is so good.
Yeah.
But most of the rest of the movie is just kind of goofy and weird. Doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, because it implies that the reason the Joker is crazy is just because he looks like a clown. That's like the extent of it.
I woke up in clown makeup.
I woke up in clown makeup, so I guess I'm a clown.
I better be a clown.
Like,
but he's already an insane, violent gangster before that.
Like that's why I love Batman Returns so much more, because like Catwoman and Penguin, they both have such like they have depth to them. They have layers to their motivation.
They do, and that's something that most Batman movies and the animated series is amazingly good at this. Most Batman villains will have that depth, that arc, that pathos. You feel bad for them. Batman 66 eschews this entirely and gets away with it, but not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
And Nicholson's Joker really does feel like a cartoon villain. Almost more so than Mark Hamill as the Joker, but Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Mark Hamill had the same problem because like
I don't think it was a problem. I think he made it work.
No, because they showed they did the whole thing where it's like, oh, let's see where he is, like the background, his origin story, and he is just once again.
When did they do that?
I think in Phantasm, actually. I think it was just like
in Phantasm,
you see him before he's the Joker.
You see someone who is implied. Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
You see someone who is implied to be him. They never really spell out. He is a mob hitman. He works for Beaumont.
And I think a lot of it is just because they didn't want to teach kids that good people can become bad.
Well, there was a lot of good people becoming bad on.
I guess you're right. So yeah,
they had the best version of Two-Face.
Yeah.
Because we got to know him for like 2 seasons, and we liked him before he became Two-Face. So when he did, it felt it was grief. It was a loss that we, the audience, were in on. It hurt to see him become this.
Right.
It was so well done.
Okay, so Sub-Zero, you want to quickly...
Sub-Zero might be better than Phantasm, honestly. It's so good because Sub-Zero focuses on, I think... The Joker, I've been talking about how the animated series was so good at bringing pathos to the villains. The Joker is the exception to that. He was just a bastard the whole time, and he was great, and he was entertaining, and he was scary, and he was nuts, and we loved him for it. Mr. Freeze, on the animated series, is the absolute epitome of their skill at making you feel bad for the villain, possibly more so than Two-Face. It's close. They had a great handle on Two-Face, as I said, but Mr. Freeze is this extremely tragic character, and Sub-Zero nails that so much, where he's doing some very bad things, and he needs to be stopped, but he's doing all of these things in pursuit of a truly noble goal, and the movie ends on this very bittersweet note that is just a perfect story for this character, and it is much more a story about Mr. Freeze than about Batman. Batman is in it, Robin is there, Batgirl is there, they're there, but this is Mr. Freeze's story.
Right. Batman versus Dracula.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's scary.
I love, oh my god.
When the Joker becomes a vampire and he's attacking the blood bank. Oh, it's scary.
By the way,
I got scared.
As someone who hates the kind of like mystical, like fortune teller astrology bullshit.
Yeah, same.
At the end, when Batman kills Dracula with science and technology.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
How do you feel about the fact that Batman kills in this movie, though?
It's fucking Dracula.
Yeah, as Batman himself said, like, he's not a man, he's a monster. Yeah. It's all right when I do it.
Yeah, cool.
Here.
Also, like, by the way, listen.
They let Alfred get in some good hits, too.
Yeah.
Alfred is great in that movie.
Listen, for the record, Batman killing the no-kill rule, it was mainly created so that his bad guys would continue to, like, exist.
Yes.
In a movie, like especially with Batman versus Dracula, when Dracula's only going to be there for one movie, it doesn't need to be there.
I think, in general, in movies as well as more episodic, continuing things like television, I still think, I know it was a relatively late addition to the character, but I think it is what makes the character work. And there's quite a few characters like Deathstroke, like Lockup, like the Phantasm, like the Executioner, who are all basically variations on the question of what if Batman did kill, and they're villains. And I love the fact that Batman doesn't kill, and the fact that he doesn't think that he sets this limitation on himself to stop himself from becoming the thing he hates. And you can make the point that, like, but the Joker's just going to escape again. But Batman firmly believes that if the state wants to execute the Joker, that is their business, that he does not have the right to make that call. And I love that. I think that's a great part of the character. And I don't like Batman killing. Unless it's Dracula, because Dracula's not alive, so it's okay.
Yeah. But also, but in real life, he should kill the Joker. If the Joker was a real person, and you had the opportunity to kill him, and you did not kill him, you are a bad
maybe
guy.
the state should kill the Joker, but Batman does not have that authority.
Yeah, he does. He's a billionaire.
Yeah, billionaires.
He could easily get the Joker killed if you wanted.
Well, yeah, but he shouldn't. That's my point.
Listen, the reason why he doesn't kill... in
the reason he doesn't kill the Joker is the Joker is a marketable character.
Yeah, in cartoon, he doesn't kill the Joker. It's fine, because the Joker doesn't kill people in the cartoon. But, if it was, a real-world person...
Yeah, but Batman's not a real-world person.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, Batman Begins.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. I don't have much to say about it. This was the only Nolan movie that I didn't see in theaters of the three Batman movies. So I watched it on DVD when I was too young to really grasp it. So I don't have the nostalgic memories as I do with these two. So.
Oh, I do. I remember when it was in theaters. I saw all three of the Nolan ones in theaters, and I remember there was this kind of tentative, cautious excitement over it because Batman and Robin was still a relatively fresh wound for most of us, and I remember saying to my family, "Hey, I hear the new Batman movie is supposed to actually be pretty good," and we all went and saw it, and yeah, it was pretty good.
Although Batman does kill in this one.
He doesn't.
No, he does. He kills Ra's al Ghul at the end.
No, he doesn't.
No, he slams the thing into the train so that it can't stop, and then he abandons Ra's al Ghul. That's killing Ra's al Ghul.
All right.
Anyways.
All right, yeah.
Because
he's not supposed to be. He says, I'm not going to kill you, but I won't save you.
Yeah, he just finds some bullshit.
Yeah. And I don't like that he should save Ra's al Ghul.
What?
I think he should... Batman's supposed to save the villains.
I didn't say what as if I was shocked. I just didn't hear what he said.
I want Batman to save villains.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
And I love at the end of The Dark Knight when the Joker is falling and Batman catches him. Yeah. And the Joker makes fun of him for it. And I like that.
Well, that was because they wanted Joker to be in the next movie.
Yes, they did.
But then he couldn't.
Alternate timeline where they made that movie and Heath Ledger is still alive and is having a great career.
Yeah.
And the third Dark Knight movie was awesome.
Yeah. Suicide Squad, I hate it. But it did give us the Suicide Squad with Viola Davis coming back to Amanda Waller, which is the actual good version.
And overall, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn has been a positive development. Birds of Prey is great.
Yeah. But what I think is interesting is that the Suicide Squad does everything right that this one did wrong. Right down to the beginning, where it has, it follows a character that you think is going to be the main character, but then he gets his head exploded. In comparison to this one, which introduces the concept of head exploding with a random character that you know is going to die, thus not being at all
I know Suicide Squad is notorious for taking way too long to set up all its characters.
What, the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does the Suicide Squad? I have seen neither film.
Oh. How
How does it handle introducing a rather large cast of characters?
So basically, Idris Elba is just Amanda Waller goes to Idris Elba and is hey, I'm going to introduce you to your team, and she just takes him one by one to hey, this.
But
is
it doesn't take too long.
Well, I mean, it's just introducing the characters. Okay. Everyone has a scene. It's not like this one where it's everyone gets a freaking music video.
Yeah. Okay.
With CGI words popping up and stuff. Lego Batman. See, here's the thing. I really like animated.
I really liked Lego Batman.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I don't like that they're Lego. Because with Lego, everyone looks the same. You know what I mean? They're the same shape. I feel like you could do so much more with animation.
That's
than making
valid.
Everyone the same square thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I get that.
Yeah.
I really liked what Lego Batman did with Joker, with Zach Galifianakis, I believe, because I firmly believe that, and this is my only major gripe with the Batman. I am sick of every portrayal of the Joker, and oh my goodness, my understanding is that Suicide Squad is really bad for this. I'm sick of increasingly edgy, increasingly marketed to teenage goths who shop at Hot Topic circa 2006 versions of the Joker. I want to get back to the Joker, at least for a while, as just a clown who steals stuff. Yeah. And then, so that the next time we have another edgy, serious, dark Joker with a point to make our society, it can feel shocking again, because we are at diminishing returns right now.
Yeah, definitely.
The reason Heath Ledger as the Joker was so effective,
Because-
part of that was just his performance was really good, but also because when we thought of the Joker, we thought of Jack Nicholson being silly, we thought of Cesar Romero being silly, we thought of Mark Hamill being scary but still in a kid-friendly way,
Yeah.
and Heath Ledger's Joker was just so completely not what we had ever seen from the character, and we are still chasing that high in almost everything since, even in things that have nothing to do with Batman. I've seen so many villains who are trying so hard to recreate that, and I love that Lego Batman was able to just say, no, we're going to do something different with the Joker. We're going to make him just kind of funny,
Yeah.
and also like caring about Batman. Like he's worried that they're not friends.
The character.
Yeah.
Yeah, so same thoughts exactly. Zack Snyder's. So talking about these
put off
together-
that a little.
Yeah, I honestly think there are definitely more scenes in here that I wish was in the original, like that I wish wasn't cut. But also there are some things in here that I kind of wish was here. Like this one definitely did have a more human version of the Flash, for example. And by the way, like Danny hasn't seen either of these, so he's
Yeah.
just gonna be
Full
bored.
transparency, we talked about Zack Snyder fanboys earlier. I am a Zack Snyder hater. I have hated him ever since 300 and Dawn of the Dead. I think he is really bad at movies.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm kind of ambivalent about Zack Snyder. I like some of his movies. I really like. We'll get to it.
I hear he's a
but-
nice man.
Yeah, and he's but that's not really relevant to like you can think a person's a nice person, but also not like the movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I think that there, like for example, I like the scene where Batman says to Flash, just save one person, because like Flash is like worried about not being able to be a hero, kind of worried, and Batman's just like, okay, just
Start small.
Yeah, so just save one person, just focus on that, and I like that because it's like.
I like that.
Because I like seeing Batman in a mentor role and kind of like a less serious role.
Yeah.
That, and I definitely do think that there's some merit to the sort of kind of more lighthearted approach that Joss Whedon takes. Even though I think
his witty dialogue can be annoying.
Yeah, can be annoying. But I do think it's unfair that even though Joss Whedon I don't think he's a good person from what I've heard. And in terms of racism, I definitely do think he treated Ray Fisher unfairly. And I think, Cyborg in the Zack Snyder cut is definitely a much better character. I do think that he's kind of unfairly scapegoated because he was kind of thrown into the middle of someone else's movie and he just had to reshoot it and like...
Yeah, that can't be easy.
Yeah, that can't... Like, I think if, he started from the ground up, like if he was there from the beginning, I don't think the original Justice League would have been like as hated as it is, It
was definitely the... the fact that he came in and changed things. It was knowing all the narrative and the backstory definitely is what...
Yeah, and I think it's only gotten worse because like the Zack Snyder cut came out and everyone's like, oh, so this is what we could have gone. But it's like, no, you could not have gone this 4-hour long...
No, that's not what it was going to be.
No, it was going to be cut either way. But it's like... And I think Joss Whedon kind of gets like, a lot of... like for how he treated his actors, yes, you can hate him for that. But I think he gets a lot of like unnecessary hate for the result of... Justice League.
And the Snyder cut that they were saying should be released was not the movie they ended up getting. What they wanted was what he had. What they ended up getting was this gargantuan leviathan that existed to meet fanboy need. People who cared so deeply about seeing a Zack Snyder movie and had expressed that care that they would willingly sit through a 4-hour movie. And if he had stayed on the project originally, it was never going to be the movie that the Snyder Cut ended up being.
Although I will say, like I said before, I think like the length thing is kind of an unfair criticism because like first of all, it is the director's cut and also it's on streaming. Like you can pause it. It's not like you're showing. That's what I mean. Like you can't show it theatrically, but if you're doing it like a streaming, like director's cut, definitely. I do think that we should be able to see like what happens when you give a creator like full control, no limits.
I
Like,
agree
that
with
is
that.
definitely something that
I agree with that, and what I said a second ago about it being a gargantuan leviathan, that is by no means a condemnation. Again, I haven't seen it, but I mean that in a very value neutral way. That like it is gigantically long, and if there had not been that massive outpouring of fan support, they never would have given him permission to make it that long. They knew that there was an audience who would watch that much content, and they were right, I guess. It did make money.
Some of those people who watch it are going to come after you now, Danny, and harass you.
Oh, they've already been at me on Twitter.
jeez.
I have one criticism I will make of Justice League, and that is that they should have left Henry Cavill's mustache in place. It would have been a better movie if he had a mustache, and no one mentioned it. It would be great.
Very funny. Yeah, but also even I think like another weird thing that the Snyder fanboys like go after Joss Whedon for is like, oh, you know, the CGI is so much better in the Snyder cut compared to Justice League. It's like, yeah, no shit, because I think like they animated everything in the Snyder cut, and in Joss Whedon's like, yeah, I know, I'm gonna animate it again. No, they redid the CGI
also,
to make it better.
Neither of these directors, like all the animation was done by effects teams, not by Joss Whedon personally.
I know, and it's like Steppenwolf. Yes, Steppenwolf is better in the Snyder cut because they could work with the criticism of Steppenwolf in Justice League. Like it's not like they were hiding this version of Steppenwolf.
Oh, here's my other criticism: Steppenwolf's in the movie. He never sings "Magic Carpet Ride."
I don't get that reference.
Okay.
Okay, if you get the reference, say so in the comments.
It's Kieran Hines, right?
Yeah.
I like him.
Okay. Batman v Superman. Danny's gonna stay quiet for this one.
Not a word.
Batman v Superman. Listen, I love it so much. And listen, like I said, I'm not a Snyder fanboy. Most of his movies I'm ambivalent towards. This movie fucking changed my life. This movie made me realize that being a film snob all the time is only going to cause suffering. This movie brought me so much joy.
I feel called out.
Listen. Batman, like, and Superman, like, they act like... What I like about this movie is that people say, oh, you know, Batman and Superman are not they're different, they're too violent, aggressive. Yes, because this is a movie about them fighting, and then they learn not to be that. Compare that to something like Civil War, where you have these two characters who are intelligent, Captain America and Iron Man, but somehow the plot has to convince you that it makes sense for them to suddenly try to kill each other. But with this movie, their characters are that they're deeply toxically masculine characters who learn not to, which is why by the end their final battle is them teaming up with Wonder Woman.
Acknowledging that their moms have the same first name.
Exactly, their mom. This is the most mom-heavy movie in the Batman canon.
That's an interesting point.
Christopher Nolan movies, not a single she's in there for a scene.
She drops her pearls in slow motion.
Not another mention of the mom again.
No, there's a whole thing about the dad building trains.
Exactly. So this movie is all about toxic masculinity getting broken apart, and I don't think could be a better first movie for Wonder Woman to make an appearance.
Now, here is a point I would like to make. Again, I've not seen the film. This is just something I want to bring up, and that is that this is the first appearance of Ben Affleck's version of Batman. Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that Civil War had in its as an advantage here, and that I think Godzilla vs. Kong did really well as well, is that they had already established both versions of these characters. And to see Kong, who we already knew from Skull Island, because he's a different version from the 05 Kong or the 33 Kong or the 76 Kong, to see this version of Kong fight this version of Godzilla, and we already knew both of them, had huge impact. But if we saw that version of Godzilla fight a Kong we'd never seen before, like we did in 63, it would have had no impact at all.
See, maybe that's true for yeah, okay, so I see where that's coming from, and I do understand a lot of it. I love this movie, but all the criticism towards it is warranted. Unless you haven't seen it like Danny has, in which case, none of your criticism is
I do not know how well the film reckons with that within the film itself. I'm simply talking about the paratext.
Yes. But I will say this. I don't think I could have stand to watch another, like, in the time between Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, I would have hated having to see another Batman.
Yeah, that's
film.
valid.
You know what I mean? Because we just got the Nolan movie. Like,
It was
don't need
not
to see
long
another
ago.
Batman.
Yeah, that's
so
all
I
right.
understand why
That's a point.
they made the choice to just introduce Batman in this scene, in this movie. So those are my thoughts. I love how it looks so different from every other movie, like from every other superhero movie. Like, there's not another, like, even Man of Steel was like super like drab and gray and shit. Batman v Superman uses colors. You see green, you see blue, you see red. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't do the whole like, oh, I'm gonna be super serious and put everything through a gray filter like Man of Steel did. That was Zack Snyder's previous movie, and I really appreciate that going in. I also liked that it had the first time when Bill Finger was acknowledged in the credits as being the creator of Batman.
Without Bob Kane? They don't mention...
with Bob Kane. So it's the dumbest thing. It's like, so they couldn't say it was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger.
Really? None of the other ones did that before?
No. But so what they did in this was they got around it. They say Bob Kane with Bill Finger. So that's how they managed to get over all the legal bullshit that Bob Kane did in order to finally give Bill Finger credit.
Okay, that's
in
good.
Batman v Superman. So
That's good.
So I have more to say about Batman v Superman, but this video, as long as it is, long enough.
We are almost 2.5 hours.
So the latest one, The Batman.
In the unedited, I'm sure that when people are watching it, it will hopefully be. The Batman. I think The Batman is really great.
Yeah.
My one major... There are ways that you could improve it throughout, I'm sure. The only element of the movie I can point to as something I just straight up disliked was the scene at the end where Barry Keoghan shows up as the Joker.
Yeah.
And I like Barry Keoghan, and I think his version of the Joker is fine. I'm just, I guess making the Joker disfigured has certain negative...
Heath Ledger.
It was too Heath Ledger, but even if it wasn't, I'm just fucking sick of the Joker, man.
Yeah,
Can't he just go away for a while?
I want him to be... I just want him to be goofy. I just want him to be goofy, funny Joker.
And I really liked how this Batman movie was funny. It has a great sense of humor. I liked how it focused on, like, the Riddler is a villain we hadn't really seen in a while. It's cool having him back. It's cool having a story very much driven by the Riddler that was shaped differently from a Joker story. It was Batman solving riddles, and a lot of them felt like Frank Gorshin riddles that, a little less ridiculous, but the whole bit with, like, thumb drive, that was funny. Also, because Peter Sarsgaard is in the movie as the Gotham City DA who gets blown up, Peter Sarsgaard is married to Maggie Gyllenhaal, who in The Dark Knight played a Gotham City assistant DA who got blown up. So now they have that in common.
What you're bringing up, I just want to point out Rachel Dawes is Jason Todd. It's just that their names rhyme. Anyways.
I had never thought of that before. You told me that before we started recording this, and it blew my goddamn mind.
Yes. Okay, yes, and my feelings are very much similar to Danny's. I think this video's long enough. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, should I plug my channel again?
Go ahead and plug your channel.
Alright, so I don't know when this is gonna go up, but I'm in the process of rebuilding my channel, uploading a lot of the old stuff that I still have. So I don't know what my newest, coolest, hottest thing will be when this goes up, but ongoing projects of new material that I will be working on slowly. I am still working on My Inner Life, the novel-length Zelda fanfiction that is garbage. I am also doing a lot of fun pulp adventure stories from old magazines, and I've got a series where I'm reading Beowulf.
Cool. And, I'm just being me.
Link to my shit will be in the description, I'm sure.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much for sitting through this 2-hour-long discussion on racism in Batman movies.
What do you want to talk about next time?
Ooh, homophobia in Batman movies. movies.
There's a thought. And that would naturally key into homoeroticism in Batman movies.
Yeah. We're watching gay porn next.
Yep, we're going to watch the one with Anthony and his gay brother. It's going to be great.
Okay, bye.
Anthony?